All right, what's up, live? Tin Roof, September the 1st, 2021. You didn't have to get all quiet. First day of September. We're out at Tin Roof. Appreciate y'all coming out. Big ups to Tin Roof. It's game week. Holy smokes, we made it. It is game week. We're just 3 days away from kickoff. For those tuned in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, everywhere else, appreciate you guys tuning in. We have got a packed show here on a Wednesday. Got a fantastic guest joining us here shortly as well. Former Gamecocks tight end Andy Boyd. We've got a real legitimate helmet on the stage as well, which is very, very exciting. I have a Lou Holtz on a stick. So we're poised for a great night here on a Wednesday. Also, guys, I do want to highlight, as you obviously, if you're here in person, are seeing right next to me, my good friend Jeremy Smith of Apex Art and Design. Obviously, we have done some fantastic giveaways with Jeremy. You see, he is up on stage. First things first, we are giving away this Kevin Harris piece right to the show. You must be here in person. If you're tuned in digitally and around Columbia, get out here. It is a, what size is that? 16 by 20 piece of Kevin Harris. We're going to give that away in a raffle, similar to what we did a couple of weeks ago. So you got to be here in person. We're going to do a traditional raffle. Jeremy's going to stick his hand in there and draw out a lucky winner. And again, I know you guys probably saw it on social media. I did post a video about it, but Jeremy is up here painting, literally painting. Fantastic piece. If you look at it, you know who it is already. Heisman winner, George Rogers. Now, I don't. What size is that? I don't even know what size. 36 by 48, a little bit bigger than that 16 by 20. But either way, we're up here at Tin Roof in the Vista. Come on out. We're out here till 7 o'clock, and we've been out here each and every single Wednesday over the last month and a half or so. And again, it's funny. I was talking to Jeremy in pre-show and just kind of reflecting and thinking, man, like I remember when we first started these, and I was talking about how excited I was, and thinking, oh man, I'm so glad we're getting ahead of it, and we're starting this thing ahead of game week, and now we're here. We're just 3 days away. But again, taking your questions, your comments, your calls as well. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Again, if you're here in person, I'd probably say the best way to get through is to text that number. But like I said, just shortly, we are going to have former Gamecocks tight end Andy Boyd joining me to help preview, break down everything with the game on Saturday. The Shane Beamer era will begin at Williams-Brice Stadium as the Gamecocks take the field against the Eiu Panthers. And what a night, what a day it is set to be. In regards to TSUS and our plans and everything we have going on, let me just go ahead and get it out there because I've gotten like 1,000 DMs, even though I've already announced it on social media. But yes, the tailgate is set. The game day plans are set. If you guys are looking for a tailgate, the TSUS tailgate, the official tailgate, will be out at Seawells, right across the street from the Rocket and just down the road from Jay's Corner. We are spots 93 to 96. That is spots 93 to 96. And again, I will be reposting that on social media and promoting that all throughout the week. But that is where we will be all season long. Those spots are locked in. And I can tell you guys this, guys, if you come to my tailgate, you better be ready to have a good time because the fine folks that I am with, that I will be accompanied by for that tailgate, they like to party, just like Gamecock fans traditionally do. Speaking of Jay's Corner, by the way, very excited to announce we've officially locked it in. Pre-game show, game day show at Jay's Corner, similar to what we're doing right here. We're going to do this live from Jay's Corner on Saturday, 3 to 4. Again, you guys know where Jay's is, just a couple hundred yards away from Williams-Brice Stadium, Jayco's Corner, if you will. Really, really excited for that. Again, this is a vision I've had for quite a while now in regards to a pregame show and kind of making a college game day for South kind of fans type style show, if you will. So we're going to be out there, Jay's Corner on Saturday, 3 to 4, just taking your questions, breaking down the game, previewing the game, obviously celebrating really the start of the Shane Beamer era and really, really looking forward to that as, again, kickoff set for 7 o'clock Saturday night. Again, also, guys, if you're out here, 50-cent wings, $3 drafts. What a no better special in Columbia, really, truly, right now. 50-cent wings. Who does that? 50-cent wings, $3 drafts, tip your bartenders, get out here, have a good time at Tin Roof. I know Talon's having a good time. He's over there doing shots and everything on the clock. Yeah. Very, very on brand. Very on brand. But no, we're having a good time out here at Tin Roof. Seriously, man. Get out here. 50-cent wings, $3 drafts. And again, we're taking your questions, your comments, your calls as well. I feel like I've been behind a mic all day today. We had the Million Cups event this morning, live stream for 2 hours, podcast. Now we're here, Jeremy, so we're just going nonstop. I don't know how I don't lose my voice at some point, but it just, God willing, it doesn't happen. So, again, would love to take your questions, your comments, everything else. Like I said, Andy Boyd will join us very, very shortly. But, no, very excited for the game this weekend, obviously. We've already went ahead and recorded the show for tomorrow. Thursday podcast during the season will be full game preview shows. Friday shows will be full game prediction shows. So I can tell you guys this, long story short, it should be a very, very fun weekend for the boys in Garnet and Black this Saturday. I feel like we all think this is a game, and we all feel this should be a game that South Carolina is able to impose their will, push their opponent around, sort of name your score, if you will, empty the bench. And that's not something I've noticed that Gamecock fans are very accustomed to saying in regards to, it's been a long time since South Carolina lined up and imposed their will on another opponent. I guess Charleston Southern 2019, but it's been quite a little bit. You can tell things have not quite necessarily gone our way. I've seen a lot of jaded Gamecock Nation on social media, Gamecocks who have been around their favorite team in a game they were supposed to win and not play very well. But man, I tell you what, this ought to be a game that South Carolina, and again, the first game of the Shane Beamer era at Williams-Brice Stadium. I know there's tons of question marks, but this is a game South Carolina top to bottom has the better athletes, has the better players, has the size, has the depth, and they should be able to really push around EIU. This should not be a contest. If you remember South Carolina Charleston Southern in 2019, it should be very, very reminiscent of that game. And if you recall in that game, South Carolina won that football game. I believe it was 72-10. Also, in case you missed it, it came out a couple days ago. I can't believe there was a line, but oddshark.com lists the Gamecocks as a 42.5-point favorite. So, do you like the Cocks laying the number, or do you like the Panthers at plus 42.5? Also, guys, really quickly, side note, we've got stickers up here. We've got TSUS stickers. We've got Beat Eastern Illinois stickers. We've also got pocket schedules. My good buddy Gamecock Doug, shout out to Gamecock Doug, stopping by and dropping off some promotional material. The pocket schedules, which these things are awesome, officially from USC. These are not like something I made. These are USC. So get yourself a pocket schedule. You can put that on your fridge. I've got mine on my fridge. Do what you like with it. I don't know. Give it to somebody else. Why not? But it's really cool. Got the schedule on it and everything. So really, really cool thing there. And like I said, we've actually got a real helmet on the stage this week. So, again, taking your questions, your comments, your calls. I see you guys in the crowd, a couple of familiar faces. Appreciate y'all coming out. 50-cent wings, $3 drafts. Like I said, you see my guy Jeremy right here. This fantastic Kevin Harris piece. We are giving that away at the end of the show in your traditional raffle style. And we're not giving away the one he is painting, but you can see Jeremy in action. The artist, I kind of wanted to sit here and watch you, honestly. The artist in action painting the George Rogers piece. Very, very cool piece up here. So, man of many talents for sure. But I see, again, appreciate those tuned in digitally as well. Thank you guys so much. Again, thank you guys for coming out. And like I said, it's crazy, man. We sit here just 3 days away, and we started doing this thing, and, you know, we were just counting down the days. I think we were probably 50 or 60 days away from kickoff. We first started these live shows out of Tin Roof, and now we sit here 3 days away from kickoff. We'll have Carolina Calls tomorrow night at Backstreets. Yours truly. I think I'm planning on being out there. Then Friday, we've actually got our live show at Hall's Chop House with Cox by 90. We'll be live 6 to 7. We'll get out there at 5 o'clock. 6 to 7, though, we'll be live. Same setup, pretty similar setup as this, but also streaming it digitally as well. We'll be out there. Have a really good Friday night. And then Saturday's game day kickoff. So, again, appreciate y'all coming out. If he's ready, I'll go ahead and bring our special guest here. Friend of the show, had him on a couple of times. And he doesn't realize I actually have a surprise for him when he gets up here. Not something I'm necessarily giving to him, but just something that he's going to remember this specific experience, this specific show by. First things first, former Gamecocks tight end, Andy Boyd. Andy.
How's it going, everybody?
Appreciate you taking the time. Legend Andy Boyd. Let's give it up for Andy Boyd real quick. How about it? Played 02 to 07, the man that never wanted to graduate.
Tried to get tenured, wouldn't give me.
Yes. Andy, so anytime you make a smart remark, I've got this guy right here to put you into line. So we have Lou Holtz's head on a stick. I put a request there. I was like, hey, if anybody's got anything they want to donate to the studio, any former players I've had on the show, whatever it might be, you can send it. Rod Trafford, shop this over. He saw, dude.
Old Rodney loves
he
some
sent
Rodney.
me over some pretty awesome pieces. He sent this. He sent a game program from the O2 Outback. The ticket stub. He sent the newspaper from the South Carolina Florida game 0-1, which we unfortunately lost, but it's really cool because it's a drawing of Holtz and Spurrier next to each other.
Sure.
So, and he also sent me like a team picture of all the tight ends, and he's just cheesing. So I was like, thank you for this stock team photo. I'm gonna frame this and hang it above my bed or something.
Oh,
But no,
that's awesome.
Rodney's a character. But again, appreciate you coming out, man. It's
Thanks
awesome
for having me.
to have you. I know it's been a little bit, and again, appreciate those tuned in digitally. You see Andy Boyd here, and appreciate those out at Tin Roof. So excited, man. Looking forward to chatting with you. And I guess I was thinking about this earlier. It's wild because I don't know if you saw I posted on social media yesterday was 2 years ago to the date that hashtag Firewall Muschamp happened for yours truly.
Yep.
But what's ironic about that is 2 years ago, basically this week was the first time I ever had you on the show, or at least in person.
Sure.
And it was game week for UNC, and we were talking about the season opener for the South Carolina Gamecocks for that game, and now we're talking about the season opener for the Shane Beamer era. But first things first, man, how you been? How's everything going? Obviously, again, it's been a while since I saw you. I actually saw your wife this morning at the 1 Million Cups event. I don't know if she told you that.
Y'all two called up.
Yeah. So I was like, well, this is ironic. So
Oh,
here we go.
no, that's awesome. No, coming full circle, seeing the other half. That's good,
Exactly.
man.
Yeah. So
No, but everything's honestly, last night I watched like probably the first quarter of the Eastern Illinois game that they played this last week, just to kind of like see what was out there. And I mean, when it comes down to it, it should be
there wasn't much to see outside of.
I mean, and honestly, I think the biggest thing that you probably want to look for, which I'm sure much of the coaching staffs won't look for, is just execution. Plays, going without a hitch. But that's the thing about football. You try to create perfect plays, and things always.
Now,
go
where do
wrong.
your eyes go when you watch the ball? So that's something when you talk to like quarterbacks or running backs or O linemen, or that the answer varies, because when you're in film study, you're obviously watching your specific position unit for those that are out there. But for you, where do your eyes go when you watch a game?
My eyes tend to obviously start with the O-line, just because that's what I studied for 2 or 3 years of breaking down film. But a lot of it, I think, goes from, hats on a O-lineman, you can tell immediately if it's run pass.
Right.
So that kind of changes the progression and stuff. But I mean, obviously seeing people fire off the ball, seeing it be a run play, that's kind of where I can quickly dissect what's going on, or who missed an assignment, who didn't do the right job, technique, whatever, but honestly, I think that's where a lot of it too, even in a live broadcast, or, obviously it's going to follow the football. So it's hard to even see that full aspect of the game, because when you're watching per play as breaking down film, they're watching 2 separate shots, wide, tight. So when you watch inside the box, that's the game within the game. So, that's just kind of my tendencies and how my eyes were trained. But it honestly took me a while to actually watch a game and enjoy it and not evaluate it.
Just to sit back like the rest of us, man, and just take it all in.
But it is. I think a lot of it too. I was talking with a guy at work, and we were talking about ball, and I think, after going through the process of evaluating so much film, a lot of it is you just start appreciating good football. Good execution, how people play, who's dominant, who's not, and just those finer things with it. But that's what separates great teams from the next. And, I think even early on, especially having an opponent like this, I'm sure everyone is wanting to get some burn and some run. And, a lot of the times, that starting lineup at the beginning of the year is not the same starting lineup at the end of the year.
Right.
So, I think it's just a good opportunity to try to get a lot of live reps, and they're not beating on one another, and seeing what type of execution and play calls are going to be coming out that way.
By the way, Andy, side note, it looks like we have your former teammate Chris White tuned in to the live stream there on Facebook. So we've actually had Chris on the show. Awesome dude.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
So I want to get into like EIU specifically, and I was able to watch some of their game too, not a ton, and I actually did the breakdown for the show tomorrow a little bit earlier and kind of the statistics, whatever. But first off, again, we're just a couple days away from the beginning of the Shane Beamer era. And I know it's been, I think we briefly touched on this last time we talked. I think it was like March or something. I don't know. It was earlier this spring, but, an entire preseason has happened. And the month of June, for example, was killer for Shane Beamer, 12 commitments. And I think we'd all agree. Every time he takes the podium, I hate to say wins the press conference, but, you like him more and more as you hear him speak. And he's won the preseason, if you will, which is important for a first-year head coach. Call it what it is. Your just overall thoughts, though, on just his first preseason, I'd imagine. Because, again, like I say, I don't know what more he could have done that he didn't do. I mean, I thought he absolutely crushed it in his first preseason.
I mean, just from the get-go, I think a lot of it's just he's been more transparent of, the actual status where they are, where needs are, where things have to be filled. But I think his overall mentality is what draws people to him. He's overly positive. He's wanting to have success, obviously, here, and he wants to be here. And he knows how special this place can be. But I think what's more exciting and stuff, too, is just to see him come alive. I mean, this is going to be his first game as a head coach.
Yep.
It's going to be here, having a live stadium. And, I mean, honestly, I'm excited for the kids. And, I mean, it's just as much as I've said over the past several years that's been more discouraging is, the thing about football is you want to play for one another. That's why it's the ultimate team game. Yeah. You're sacrificing for your teammates, and I just want to see these guys having fun, having success, but, celebrating as teammates, not just your own individual victories, but as a team, man, and I think just every week's a building block, right now. And I think it's, obviously, I mean, it's Eastern Illinois, but I mean, it's opponent got to come in, got to take it serious. And I mean, hopefully we can throw, I think the spread was what, like
42 and a half.
Oh, is it dropped there? Okay. Because I think at first
42 and a half. Andy.
Which would be great. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I'd love to see us put up 7 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. Yeah. But I think a lot of, I think a lot of it's just going to be execution and dominating an opponent like this, like we should, because next week it's just going to be, again, it's going to be on the road. It's going to be in Greenville, with a better opponent and all that stuff too. So, I mean, you just got to take every opportunity to get better.
Yeah. It's interesting how the schedule incrementally gets better, at least the first 3 weeks. We're going to find out a lot, but yeah, I've loved how Coach Beamer has been so honest about like the emotions of week one. Most coaches are giving you the coach speak answer of, we're 1 week at a time, plug your ears, every week is a season. Oh, God.
Right.
But those type of answers. But, Beamer, I mean, yesterday in his media availability, he said, I could give you the normal spiel of this one's just like, he's like, that's bull crap. Like, he's been very open and vocal about how the emotions are going to be running high for him running out of the tunnel and first game at South Carolina. And I don't know. I think for fans, and that's not just that moment, it's been many moments where it's been refreshing for fans to be like, okay, this guy isn't just some closed off, like football robot. He's a human being and he relates with the fan base. And,
I think even just I was thinking about that even today. It was like just being a player, being in that position, what's it mean for you to play on Saturdays? Yeah. And a lot of it is it's, having that emotion, having that gut feeling, that adrenaline rush, that nervous feeling of the anticipation about what's about to happen, and I mean, even thinking about, I can remember Coach Spurrier's first game of just how completely jam-packed the place was. And it just see him even 21 days beforehand, we were starting the beginning of the camp. Then all of a sudden it just seems like a flash in a moment and you're on the field, kickoffs rolling in, time to go execute and play. But I mean, for Coach Beamer, even for all those kids, man, I think it's just, football's made to be fun. Winning is fun. Dominating is fun, and, Saturday is the first opportunity for us to do it. And it's just a matter, I think, of just getting that confidence rolling and everything being a building block from here on out.
For sure. Now, Andy, I know we've talked about it before, but it is interesting because you bring up Coach Spurrier's first game, and many fans have been trying to draw parallels to the hype and excitement and everything of Shane Beamer's first game in a new era. And many have compared it to that preseason in 2005. And I mean, heck, I know you and I have talked about it. I remember being at the spring game in spring of 05 when there were like 35, 40,000 people.
Yeah, whole bottom bowl.
I talk about, the first play, South Carolina just throws a pass or drops back to throw a pass and the entire stadium stands up. And it's just like, it's crazy the excitement that Coach Spurrier brought and just the change in attitude and everything. But going through that preseason, again, every preseason is exciting when you get to kick off and it's a season opening. It's like any other sport. Opening day, I mean, it's all special when you get a new season going and the hope and optimism of what that can bring. But that 2005 preseason specifically, I mean, going through that as a player, you had Thursday night national TV. Again, I know it's UCF, but Thursday night national TV, Coach Spurrier's debut. Again, you caught a touchdown in that game, obviously. Yep. I mean, just talk about the emotions of going through that one and taking the field, what that was like.
I think probably just looking at a full circle type of moment where it was 8 months separate. There was a fight that ended, with Clemson and the end of Coach Holtz's era and stuff. But, I think what was refreshing about Coach Spurrier, even when he came in, was everybody got the opportunity. You just had to show it. you know, and I mean, that was one of the main things that he said from day one was, I mean, you're going to have to prove it day in and day out. If not, if there's somebody better that can do your job better than you, next man up.
Right.
But that's how a team's supposed to be ran. You know, the best player is supposed to play. I mean, 11 people can be out there at a time. So I think, you know, really, to me, I think even from Coach Beamer's standpoint, I think that's even just the mindset, at least that I take from seeing what's happening. They're putting the best players in the position to play. And I think obviously too, just knowing where we do have depth, keeping people fresh, and obviously where we're weak because of not having the numbers there. But like I said, I think honestly the best thing about this opponent here is hopefully we jump on them fast, execute, and a lot of people get reps because live reps are different from practice reps, man. Yeah. You know, it's a different environment when there's, you know, the 200 support staff out there and 80,000 people.
Right. So the pressure is just ratcheted up.
Hey, man,
it definitely is.
Well,
you're on TV.
How do you perform? I mean, are you cool, calm under pressure? I mean, can you block the noise and crowd out, or, you know, is it going to be something of a distraction that you can't ever take? I mean, I remember my first play. I mean, my first play was against New Mexico State.
Right.
Hart Turner tore his jersey, and so I was third string tight end, 2 tight end set, and guess what? Went in, but it felt like I was running on clouds. Right. You know, just that pure adrenaline rush by it. And a lot of it is just staying within yourself, you know, playing with, you know, your ability. When your number's called, execute.
Right. Now, you mentioned the opponent, Andy. That's something really interesting I want to talk to you about. So you didn't have to deal with that when you played UCF because it's the beginning of a new era. But, you know, you did play the New Mexico States. You played the South Carolina States. You played the Louisiana Lafayette.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing to take away from them. But, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, you know, all due respect to your opponent, this might be the worst team South Carolina has played in like the last 20 years. I mean, it's and I know you watched them on film.
Sure.
As far as we can say this because we're on this side. You're not in the building where it's a much different perspective. But how did you as a player stay locked in, focused? Because you hear the outside noise and you see the, you know, you see the graphic on the Spurs Up Show Instagram that says Gamecocks minus 42.5. And so like you know, how do you – because there is a different vibe, and it's not hard to get fired up to play Georgia or Tennessee or Florida. Sure. But in a week like this, and again, I know it's a little bit different because it's a season opener. Correct. So, but how do you stay locked in and keep that focus in a game like
you know,
this?
Obviously, even when I played, I think it was even something that even teams I played on had difficulty doing at times. I mean, I'm pretty sure there were some Wofford games that ended in 14-10 and South Carolina State, I think, were
South
like
Carolina State gave us
sevens, you know. And it's not that, and I mean, truthfully, really, honestly, people don't realize a lot of South Carolina State, man, they get transfers from Carolina. They get transfers from Clemson. They got top talent. And guess what? That's the thing about football in the modern world is, guess what? If you're good enough to play, guess what? They'll find you.
Buddy Pugh ain't no joke now.
They'll find you. And, I mean, that goes for high school. That goes for college. That goes for even the NFL. That's what their job is to find the best players on the field. I mean, because I think I was watching a preseason game the other night. Free safety was from Lenore Ryan. That's where my granddad played back in the 50s, you know. But, I mean, if you got the talent to execute and play, you can play. Right. And I think it's just all – to me, I think it even becomes more of a pride thing. You know, what do you put on film? What is your opponent watching you do? Right. You know, they're watching you take plays off, or they're watching you dominate people. I mean, I want people to have some type of mindset of what I've done to an opponent, knowing that it's business when they come against me, you know. But I think a lot of it is, too, is just keeping it fresh, keeping it light, because – I think that was the big thing that even that Spurrier brought along too, was just being relaxed, being fun, being loose, so you can be loose during the game rather than being all wound up tight and afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen, but how fast are you going to do them, and how well do you know your job to adapt when the bullets start flying? Well,
that's the interesting thing you bring that up, because I mean, this was after you obviously, but Garcia's mentioned that week of Alabama. He's like, that's probably the most relaxed Spurrier was.
Yeah, man.
Like he's like that. He's like, God, if Spurrier would have been that relaxed my entire career, I would have been a real hell of a player.
And that's, of all the stuff, being up in the box. And I might have said it on the show during the podcast and stuff before, but to be on the headset and listen to Coach Spurrier during that Alabama game, he was just so in tune with what was going on. Right. He was calling Alabama's offensive plays by formation. Yeah. You know, and I remember the GA that I was sitting beside, Dennis Thomas, who's up at Western Carolina now, hitting him with an elbow going he's calling the plays. Literally, he was like, screen left. Yeah. Watch the draw. It's just, competitor and how much film and how you break down and have those tendencies. And that's, and somebody said it, I think, on the radio, or I can't remember who, but it is. I mean, the man was an artist, of just having such a feel for the game and, being able to execute and getting it to his playmakers, man. And I think that's what it's even helping to identify this week. I mean, it's your first game. Who's going to make plays? Who's going to do it when the light's shining? I mean, if you want another opportunity when the ball comes your way, seize it.
How shocking is it to you that he's not calling plays somewhere right now? Or is it shocking at all?
Say that one more time.
How shocking is it that Spurrier's not like a high school coach or an OC somewhere calling plays?
Oh no, I mean, even when he played for the AFL, man. I mean, like he went straight back to like his true offensive system when he first got here, and I mean, using same signals. I mean, I'd be yelling across the room to my wife, telling her, "I'm like, Mills is coming."
Right.
This is Mills, and like
who can forget Blake Mitchell looking out?
I mean, just everything. I mean, just the formation, but I mean, that's just kind of. I think a lot of it too is even how an offensive system, how it makes sense to you as well. Of just how it's described. It's almost like read out like a sentence. So I mean, it's a. I think a lot of it is just learn to adapt. I mean, I think that's just even what comes with the game. I mean, there's plenty of people that are talented that put things on film, but do you have the complete package? Are you smart enough between the ears? Are you doing the right things on and off the field? And, are you executing on Saturdays and stuff too? I mean, it's all relevant. That's the way I look at it.
I think I've asked this before. Was Spurrier's offense, was it hard to grasp? Was it complex, or was it one of those things when you got the hang of it? It's just
I think even at that time, being remember my 6 years of what I was. I think I guess that was a redshirt junior.
You were one of those guys at Carolina that we look at
like
right now, like Sherrod Green. It's like, I think he's been here since the Holtz era,
yeah.
but you had literally been there since the Holtz era.
I was there 6 years.
You were there since like the Brad Scott era?
Not quite. No, I mean, really when it came down to it, I mean, I think just it's the understanding of the game and just, I mean, being an 18, 19-year-old kid being drafted, coming to a big-time college football program and being thrust into it to, being able to balance the whole classroom, being able to balance, game week, what's different from camp to spring practice to winter workouts to summertime. I mean, all that stuff is a responsibility, but I think much of it is enduring it and growing with it. Your first year and anything you do is going to be the hardest year.
Right.
Because then guess what? Everything after that, you've been there before and you can adapt and grow from it. And really when Spurrier first got there, I mean, to that, I think it even helped me click. Obviously, guess what? We knew we were going to throw the ball. Right. Guess what we didn't do with Coach Holtz a whole bunch? Throw the ball. So, it was just a chance and an opportunity for me to show, that, don't get me wrong, by no means was I a blazing, 40 a mad dash 40 to help spread the field. But, a lot of it came into understanding where do you need to be at certain times, how are you going to get there? And it's understanding that football is all about angles, not wasting steps, all that stuff. So it's just taking advantage of the opportunities, but learning from people in front of you. I mean, there's a thirst of knowledge out there, and it's just how much are you willing to seize and sacrifice to make it a thing.
Who was the guy that helped you the most? Like as far as adapt and learn the tight end position?
I would definitely say, especially mind-wise, as far as understanding concepts and position, and it honestly was Eric Kimry.
Really?
Because Eric was a senior my freshman year, became a GA then the spring essentially of my going into my sophomore year. And he was the, pretty much the assistant tight ends coach with, Skip as the tight ends coach OC. But just having that help and having that one-on-one kind of interaction and having a quarterback's mind to help you see full concepts, understanding what your responsibilities are, I think that's where it really at least clicked for me. Now, I would say fundamental wise, definitely from even my freshman year, our position coach, Googe, that we had, Dave DeGuglielmo, man, I learned so much football from him in the 6-7 months I was able to be with him, but it was just because of how precise particularly it was. And there were really great players in front of me. I mean, I got to watch Travell Wharton for 2 years.
Yeah.
I got to watch Hart for 2 years. I got to watch Rod Trafford for 2 years. And I had to bide my time. There were 3 guys that played in front of me before I actually got my legitimate shot to be a starter to play. And it's just when you have that, again, when you're.
But that helped you,
that number. Absolutely, man. I mean, the competition.
Depth is a great thing for us.
What people, I tell you right now, there's some film out there somewhere out there in this world of Rod Trafford. And it's him on the goal line at Georgia when they beat Georgia at Georgia. And driving somebody 8-9 yards in the backfield and just planting them square on there. I mean, but you learn from that.
Right.
You know, you see what it takes for it to be successful and being done. And little things like that, when you talk about watching football, that's little things like that I pick out even than watching what's even actually going on in the plays, that individual effort, things of that nature too. Just, you know, because it is. I mean, there's a thirst of knowledge, and the game is only going to continue to grow.
For sure. Now, you mentioned you watched some Eiu film, so let's get into that. Eastern Illinois, 3 days away from kickoff. Obviously, the Shane Beamer era is going to get underway.
What's up,
your greatest takeaways from the Eiu film? I mean, was there anything that stood out? I'll tell you that the stat that stood out to me from their game Saturday, and of course, for those that missed it, they lost to Indiana State 26-21, but 5 sacks. Otto Coons, their quarterback, was sacked 5 times against the Indiana State D-line.
Yep, and a lot of that, from what I saw, that happened early on. I think even within the first 2 or 3
they were getting
series,
bull rushed.
Yeah, they were
bull
getting crushed. And
yeah.
what I didn't see a whole bunch of even in the second half, it looked like they actually hit a lot of big plays. Now, whether it was at the end of the game, you know, just game was out of reach and they had some scrubs in there or whatever. But I mean, I know when I looked at the box score, I mean, they had at least three people that had like 1 catch for over 30 yards.
Yeah, their leading receiver their leading receiver from Saturday. He's a transfer from UNC Charlotte. He had like 120-yard receiving.
And average like over time. I'm almost positive it was over.
I think he had like a 60-yarder for a touchdown.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's the thing. I think a lot of that's just obviously they have some big play capabilities. Preventing the big play is the number one thing, even when it comes to even defense. You know, preventing that a touchdown strike. Now, granted, yes, their O-line did not look great. And I mean, especially early on, those 3rd down and longs, man. I mean, Indiana State got some pressures back there very easily and stuff. And that's honestly, I think that's what I hope. That's what you hope to see Saturday. You hope to see that dominance. You hope to see that. I mean, there would be nothing better than pulling starters out at halftime. You know, beginning of the 3rd quarter, just to let other people start getting burned and see how people are going to execute and play. You know, so I mean, I think honestly, I know those kids are excited even for the same stature of, guess what? They don't have to beat on each other anymore. They get to start beating on opponents and people they've been training for, you know, the last 9-10 months. You know, now this is that moment. And so I think a lot of it's just a matter of, you know, I think it's just excited to see what, you know, South Carolina has to offer for this year, you know, starting Saturday.
This is a complete change of subject, Andy. What you talk about, you know, during fall camp, guys beating up on each other, and we know in the dog days of August it can get very intense. Did you ever get in a fight in fall camp or no? Were you a scrum guy or no?
I mean, oh yeah, no. I mean, I was more of one of like, especially as I got older. I mean,
you're a pretty big dude, so I'm sure not many like receivers are trying to.
It's all a bunch of alpha males and stuff out there. But I mean, there was, I think a lot of it was just more of a, you know, just playing against the same person each and every day. You know, other people have, you know, strengths, advantages, whether it is strength, whether it's technique, things of that nature. But I mean, every day it happened. I mean, those 10 plays that we played live against the first team, I mean, I wasn't going to look like a chump on film. You know, I mean, I even remember, I think Eric Norwood, I think his first practice was his freshman year. This was my 6th year. He came off the ball, did like a head slap or something like that. And I told him, I was like, okay. And like very next play, cut him off backside and I ear hold him so hard. And we didn't have pads on. Right. You know, but a lot of it is just understanding, you know, and then even every year when we would get to team and you would have, you know, walk-ons or people that were 3rd, 4th on the depth chart that were over there on scout team and stuff. And people start, you know, trying to get physical play hard. And I mean, I tell them, I'm like, hey man, we can do this. We can practice hard. You want me to go hard? I'll go hard. You know, I have no problem in corals with that, you know, but I mean, honestly, that's why football was my release. Put a helmet on, I was a different person. Yeah. You know, I promise you, you know, and I mean, I'd like to think there's people out there that experience a little bit of that.
Right. Yeah. Imagine so, for sure. Now, again, moving to this year's team, Andy, and moving in this game, you're no stranger to when you were at South Carolina, a bit of a revolving door at quarterback. You most certainly were part of teams that had the changing of the guard quite often.
Yep.
What do you make of this Zeb Nolan situation? Because, what do you think about it?
You know, I mean, I think a lot of it's more of people who have been in that shoes before too, you know, especially quarterback. I mean, it's the toughest position on the field. You got to know what everybody's doing. You know, and you got somebody that has a wealth of knowledge just from experience playing the position before. And obviously it comes down to who feels comfortable with being in the helm to lead the offense. I think also too, I mean, I know even with, Coach Spurrier, especially early on, Coach Spurrier was not bashful about somebody's not executing, pull him, put the next guy in there. Next man up. If you're not getting done, let's give it to the next person, because same thing. Let's see who's going to react. Let's see who's going to execute. But I think a lot of it too, I have a feeling a lot of it is trying to bide more time for Doty to heal, mainly for what the opponent is next week. And I think a lot of it too, it very well could be something. I mean, honestly, if execution goes in place, we have success. Why not have 2 or 3 quarterbacks play? Right. Why not try to give as many different formations just to see what people can do? And I think a lot of it too is just some people just aren't ready. Just as much as where they are on the depth chart, some people just
and that's
aren't ready
hard
to be
for
out
fans to grasp. They can't believe that like a true freshman Colton Gauthier or a transfer Jason Brown, and it's like, dude, it just like I thought Shane Beamer, if you really read between the lines and you listen to Beamer and what Satterfield said, I mean, they literally said, we just want a guy that runs the offense. So what does that say about, and maybe it's no knock on them, but it's like Satterfield literally said, we're not asking a guy to go win the Heisman. We're not asking him to go be all conference. We just want him to run the offense efficiently.
That's right.
And so, I mean, that's pretty important. Like people argue about, I won't even really dive into the situation last year, at least with you, but people argue, well, the only reason that guy was playing, say the other guys, because he just knew the playbook better. I'm like, well, that's a pretty big part of playing the position. Like, if you don't know where you're supposed to, I mean, you can be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you're a receiver and you don't know what route you're supposed to run, you can't play. You just cannot play.
Look like Tarzan, play like Jane.
Right.
I mean, if you don't know your job, I mean, and to me, I think
you can't execute your job.
That's exactly, and you can't play full speed.
Right.
And I think that's when it comes to that quarterback position, they have keys, cues, just like anybody else. If this guy does this, then you do that.
Right.
If the guys out here not being able to read the field, be able to read the coverage, not being able to set up, pass pro protections, I don't know what all the responsibilities that are being put on the quarterbacks at this time, but you got to have a guy out there that can go out and execute. And I mean, that's even from the simple stature, of taking a snap, turning around and handing a ball off, or making sure you have your eyes on the defensive end like you're supposed to. I mean, everything matters. I mean, literally, to me, even especially being on offense, one guy can make a mistake, and that's the difference between a touchdown and not.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't see it, but you cover one man up. That's the thing about defenses. Guess what? Sometimes defenses can be out of place, but guess what? That's why those guys come up and make plays, because they're erasers. Right. And it's about effort, not giving up on plays. But I think really, it is. It is that plain Jane simple. Who can run and execute the offense? And I think a lot of it is, if that's obviously an area of concern and where things are, it might be something that has to be worked through to figure out who can be the person that can run and execute the offense. But obviously, I think a lot of it's the main thing of why risk putting Doty out there to get hurt possibly before even when, a better opponent next week. Yeah. Why not give them the better benefit of the doubt to, take another week off to heal, strengthen, and be ready to go? Because it's a long year, and the SEC is no joke, man. It's not every week. And you're
42.5-point favorites. That's the other thing. And Luke Doty is going to come back. And Beamer made the point in his call-in show last week. He said that, I think if they were playing North Carolina in the season opener, they were playing Tennessee like last year, Doty could go if he had to, but he doesn't have to.
Correct.
And the good news is, no matter who's behind center this Saturday, there's probably going to be a lot of turning around and doing this. And, of course, you and I talked about this, I think, after the season last year. And anytime you're returning the bulk of the experience, 4 or 5 starters, over 80 starters on that line, from a line that paved the way for a guy that did what Kevin Harris did last year, you feel pretty good about your offensive line coming into the season. They're not getting quite as much love from the SEC analysts, I get, which really who cares, but they're not getting quite as much love. Maybe is that because of the inflated sack numbers last year? I don't know. But when you look at that line, what do you see? What do you like? Obviously, they need to improve in pass protection, but I do think the numbers will be helped just because you got a guy behind center now, and when Luke Doty returns, that he's got some escapability. I thought last year you were kind of in some positions when it got to 3rd and 7 or longer, and they knew we were throwing it. It's like, it's hard to stop SEC defensive ends as it is, but when they know you're throwing it, it's pretty tough.
Down in distance, knowing the situation, all that stuff matters. And I've seen some of the ratings, what they've put rankings are when
Right.
somebody that played 10 games last year and ran over 1,000 yards, which is insane and great. And
Kevin
nothing but
Harris
the
has not
SEC.
gotten
I mean,
much of the
that's
benefit
nuts.
of the doubt.
No, he hasn't.
Not much.
Honestly, I think even from watching the spring game, that was probably more of what I was encouraged by, was to see all the different wrinkles that the O-line was putting in there, from folds to pulling to powers to counters, things like that. And knowing that's really going to be a strength, that we have is a stable of backs. Spread the rock, man. And it's the same thing. If you're putting her back in there, he's got to execute, hit his old, read his keys. And if it means we got 3 or 4 backs and we can rotate them in there, great. We can have some.
You were on some teams that had some pretty damn good running backs themselves.
No doubt, man. I mean, well, honestly, that's, being, again, just under the Spurrier offense, that's what it was predominantly built around anyways, was the run game, because the hard play action.
And see, people don't realize that. They think it's throw it 50 times a game, and Spurrier loved to run the ball.
And I think, honestly, even with Doty's capabilities, I think that's even what I'm more curious about seeing, is if they are successful at running the ball, how well can you put Doty in a hard play action pass, roll him out, give him space to where he can throw the ball, rather than being just a pocket passer, because it just creates another option when you have a quarterback with legs. So I think that's just really kind of the, I think that's what's exciting for everybody to see. What's this offense going to look like? We know we're throwing to the tight end. Tight end to win.
Tight end to win. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's just really, I don't think it's but a great opponent that we're going to have on Saturday, because we should dominate them. But also, too, hopefully we can get a lot of reps out there. We can see a lot of different faces. We can see a lot of different things that we can do to be successful and build upon. I think that's the number one thing. You get as many plays on film, you can work from it, because the eye and sky don't lie. I mean, that is the best tool that there is in football. It's film, putting it on film, seeing what you're doing. And a lot of it's, people think it's just, no, I mean, those are choreographed steps that these guys are working on every single day. So a lot of it's just trying to let them, put them in the mindset of like not losing your marbles when you're in the moment. Trust your footwork. Trust your hand placement. Trust your technique.
Because when you're there under the lights, it's happening too fast to think.
Doubt,
it's
man.
like you got to just go.
Right, and that's why you work on it every day, so it is instinctual.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is just little keys and cues as you're doing things, because just as much as you studied your opponent, that opponent's just studied as much about you. So like I said, I think honestly when I saw the Eastern Illinois game the other night, I was just like, wow, okay. And honestly, I think for people just to go watch it, to see the opening and see that there's not even a visiting stands at Indiana State where they play.
Did you hear the announcers in that game? Like that one guy that kept going crazy?
He was like, woo,
I was like, God, dude, you're making this unbearable.
He sounded like an alumni from Indiana State. But I mean, literally, I'm just thinking about that, where those kids were playing, and it's by no means, but like they're getting ready to walk into South Carolina Stadium, and they have never been in an environment like that. So I think that's just kind of what. But you better understand those guys are going to take it full advantage of the opportunity here, because they don't get to walk into places like this all the time. So this is opportunity to play top talent and see even where they stand themselves. But I think a lot of it's just going to be I'm hoping for a route. Who's not hoping for a route? And
like you said, who wouldn't love a little 35-0 at halftime, and we get to empty the bench, and everybody gets to play and tell their mom and dad how they got to play, and they got on TV, and great for recruiting.
Right. And it's great for depth. I mean, believe it or not, those top teams, when they're sitting there and they're blowing out people all the time, and you got your 2s and 3s getting, 3 and 4 games a year where you're getting quality reps.
Well, there's a team in the upstate that benefits greatly from those type of situations.
You're not wrong. I mean, it is just
seriously. They do.
When people get hurt, man. Guess what? Next man up.
Yeah. Seriously. So you mentioned tight end to win. That's your license plate, right? And then because Kim retweeted that, right? The tight end to win. He gave you. He gave you credit for that. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no. Well, honestly, goodness, I have no idea. I remember we used to do tight end to win. Why not? Why? What was the other one? I feel like there was one more, but that was what we always used to break it down on. I mean, our individual tight end unit was a good solid 10 minutes before we went and go join the O-line or go join the quarterbacks to catch balls. So, I mean, it was literally just like a stretch, catch a few, get loosened up, and then it was like, all right, this is what we're breaking it down on. But, I mean, even when I've gone over there, I've gone by the tight end room and wrote it up on the board just with the driver.
Right. Love it. Yes. Well, speaking of the tight ends, that should be a position of strength for South Carolina, and how much the tight end position has changed. I know you and I have talked about it before. Yeah. It's gone from, it used to just be that extra guy on the end that, you know, he might be like an Andy Boyd that catches like 5 passes his entire career.
Yep.
And then it goes to guys like Travis Kelce and Jared Cook and guys like that who are just physical specimens.
Anderson, yeah, I mean, even West. And I mean, honestly, it creates such mismatches.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, honestly, that's why I kind of use the phrase tight ends, the defensive end of the offense.
Yeah.
And you find a good one, you have one that can stretch the field that people can't match up with and defend.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a whole nother dynamic. Yeah. And you want to talk about play action with tight ends.
And Spurrier loved the tight end, right? I mean, Spurrier's a huge part of his offense.
Man. Well, it's just you get lost in the shuffle. I mean, when there's a wad of, you know, when there's 8, 9, 10 bodies being wadded in a motion, and all of a sudden you got somebody that slips out unaccounted for, you know, it's just taking big opportunities. And I think that's, to me, I think that's what I'm encouraged by, you know, knowing Muse, knowing he's a talented tight end, knowing, you know, just the running capabilities that Doty has, if that's going to be a lot of what they're going to be playing off of, a lot of heavy run, play action, get it to the tight end, just because it's quick, efficient throws that gets people out in space to go and make plays themselves.
Yeah, I think it was Wes Saunders. You know, we posted the countdown video. I think it was 12 days to kickoff. Mm-hmm. It was your touchdown against UCF, and I think it was Wes that commented. He was like, "The wide drag is undefeated."
Wide drag, man. Oh yeah,
the wide drag is undefeated.
It's such. Honestly, even every time you watch that play, I mean, it's such an easy read for a quarterback because the far guy's setting a pick for you. You know, but even if not, if you realize it's man to man, guess what? You're spreading the field wide open for the guy in the middle of the field. I mean, it's an awesome play, and you're right. I mean, the drag, I mean, the flood routes, you know, off of that corners, banging releases. I mean, it's a, you know, I'm excited. You know, get him a rock and let him see what he can do.
I mean, you saw Spurrier use the tight end so much with like Busta Anderson and Justice, and I mean, it just it was all the time.
No doubt, man. And that's the thing. I mean, it's just such a. I mean. Knowing that we have we got a couple studs at running back, you know, obviously it's trying to figure out then what wide receivers are going to then help alleviate that talent. But knowing you have a trustworthy tight end, again, to me, I think that's what's going to help Doty more than anything, especially having such hard play action off of that. I mean, you can do bang releases with that, or even just working, same thing, drags, getting to that next level for him to make high efficient throws where you're not relying on Doty throwing it down the field, you know, 30 yards all the time, getting confidence, then have him take a shot, you know, things like that.
Yeah. Now, defensively, Andy, again, I know you're an offense guy, but we talked defense before, and certainly this team that I feel like as you move back on the level, I will say this about the Gamecocks football team too. If you're going to have question marks anywhere on your football team, I feel like at least, if nothing else, Shane Beamer, Clayton White, Marcus Satterfield, they have a great starting foundation. When the strengths of your football team are both lines of scrimmages, at least you have a good place, a foundation. You have to be strong there because, as you know, offensively, you can have all the talent in the world. If you don't have the guys up front, it means nothing. And defensively, same thing. If you cannot stop the run, you just have no chance because an offense can completely dictate everything they do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, literally how it's even taught. I mean, Coach Long, who was up here last week with you and stuff. Yeah. I mean, that was his number one thing was 7 yards of depth, trying to drive the offensive guy to get that much. All he's trying to do is change the line of scrimmage. Right. It's just as much as we are. Even how I first learned was you got to get 3 steps in the ground before you make contact. Right. And it was all about momentum, rolling your hips. But again, you're moving the line of scrimmage. Right. And no matter how offensive change, wrinkles they have, anything like that, guess what? The game will always be on. Solid one there, Miss Very nice. The game will never change. It's always on the line of scrimmage. You know, and I mean, you can look at it every single play. On who wins that battle up front. It's usually who's going to be successful on the play. You know, but I think, agree, the foundation that's there with O-line, D-line, and that matters. If you don't have depth along there, man, in a grueling SEC schedule, it can be treacherous. Yeah. It can be a problem, you know, but at least that gives you, again, foundation. Hopefully protection's better, but hopefully we can continue to run the ball. But hopefully that defensive line, if you can get pressure with 4 D linemen, you have a strong chance of success, you know, with your defense on Saturday.
And that's what Clayton White's going to try to do, obviously, with this group, with J.J. Ngbari, Jordan Bird, Zach Pickens, I mean, Jabari Ellis, Tonka. Aaron Sterling. The list goes on and on with the athletes up front. I feel like as you move back on this defense, the questions start to come up, more and more question marks. Linebackers, okay. You got to replace Ernest Jones, which I think is the most underrated loss on the entire defense. And then we all know the challenge in the secondary. You lost a ton of NFL guys from a season ago, and you got a lot of new faces that, this will be their first time playing under the lights at Williams-Brice. Right. When you look at the defense, I mean, what are you expecting? And I'll ask you this: Clayton White, nobody really knows. I mean, he comes from Western Kentucky, and he did really, really well there. I mean, everything I've heard about him, fantastic coach. But do you, and I talked to your former teammate Alex McGrath about this on Tuesday. Alex, my guy, he's back with us for a third consecutive season. But I asked him, and I'll ask you, do you expect, because I guess we're all just kind of guessing, because this is, again, his first season calling plays at a Power 5 level. Would you expect them to be more aggressive in regards to blitzing more because of the weakness in the secondary? Or, like you said, just trusting they can get there with 3 or 4, but maybe you're taking a risk of, if we don't get there, what could happen?
Even when you blitz and bring pressures, especially you start bringing more than 4 people, you start bringing 5 and 6, guess what? You're just creating holes elsewhere on the field.
Yeah, you're putting guys on an island. I mean,
correct. Yeah. And a lot of it is, I think a lot of it's just having it dialed up right situations, and bringing a mixture of blitzes when you do so. Truthfully, I mean, because whatever you put out on film is going to get scouted. So I think it's even something to, if you don't have to bring blitzes and pressures, guess what? Don't.
Yeah.
Keep that. That's another card to keep in your pocket for another week.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what everybody else is going to try to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny because everybody's like, oh, South Carolina, they play off the line. Well, thank you. Look at great service here at Tin Roof. No, they play off the line, and everybody's like, why don't they just go up there and play man? It's like, Bama does. I'm like, you have to have the players to go play man coverage. Because if we try to, I mean, we can want to play man, but if Shane Beamer signed me up and I go play man, I'm sorry, but they're going to throw a touchdown. Like, I'm not keeping up with anybody. So,
no, I mean, when it comes to the secondary, man, I mean, when it comes to athleticism, I mean, those are the most athletic people on the field. Right. Speed, attitude, just the competitiveness with it. But again, there's only so much that, us in the outside world not being between the gates of practices and stuff to know exactly what people are doing. Now, same thing, being that low, I know it's depth, I know it's experience, but guess what? Same thing. Put people out there to get experience. Yeah. It's only going to help you in the long run, and guess what? It'll weed its way out too of who, maybe this guy is a little bit better. He seems to be he does it in practice, but can't do it in a game. It's just that it's those type of scenarios to see what's going to actually help and execute and stuff. But I mean, I'd be encouraged to see what our D-line could do. I'm sure, third and longs, things like that. I'm sure we'll bring some pressures and, blitzes of such, but hopefully we don't have to resort to using that method as much.
Yeah.
But again, I think obviously there's still some big question marks and things to fill. And, honestly, you will get a lot of answers after Saturday night of where we stand. But honestly, even looking at that, it's not only opportunities for other people there on the field, but even in recruiting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I was telling my assistant today, that's why I gave a little shout out to Dakota, was just, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, it's about recruiting the player and knowing what people, can do and execute and all that stuff too. And I can't imagine how crazy it is nowadays with the whole portal, being such a thing to pull from, because I mean, I don't even know, are they even pulling people from JUCOs anymore?
Well, Marcellus Dial is GMC. We got a couple. Isaiah Norris and Dial came from GNC, but I mean, you pulled 13 guys from the transfer portal alone.
And
most of them, I feel like now are coming.
Right, and a lot of it's just because they have already been in a program, been through that whole process of just understanding what it takes to be at a big time university, and a lot of it has to do with clearinghouse.
Right.
You pass NCAA stuff, but I mean, a lot of it is there's opportunity to play here, and just people realizing that, yes, everybody wants to go to their dream school, whatever that school may be. But guess what? Is that dream school going to be an opportunity for you to play? Because guess what? If you ain't putting film out there, guess what? You have no chance even for another level or two. Yeah. Be out there on Saturdays. There's only 11 names called on the starting lineup, my man.
What did you tell me before? Would you rather it be yours or your buddies?
I mean, it is, man. I mean, that's life. That's just competition when it comes down to it and stuff. And I mean, it's, even they talk about it in colleges. I promise you, don't give them a reason not to play you.
Right.
If you're executing, doing what you're supposed to do on the field, you're handling all your business off the field. Yeah. What can they
make it
take away
impossible
from you,
for
man?
that coach?
That's
not to
right,
play,
man. But they can't do nothing but play you because that you're doing everything what they're asked for you to do. That's what it is, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to do as you are coached.
Now, switching gears a little bit, because you mentioned, only 11 can play, and you better go somewhere where you can play. The NIL thing, again, this is completely switching gears, but people have been talking about to me, how's it going to change recruiting? And my response is this, Andy, like, you better still focus on, first off, I wouldn't want a kid in recruiting if that was his lead focus is, where can I go that I can get the best sponsorship or partnership? But the second thing is, like, I feel like kids now, it's like, you better still worry about the right culture fit, the right scheme, the right, coaching staff, the right amount of, opportunity to play. Because like you're mentioning, hey, if you're not playing, nobody's going to want to give you anything or pay you or anything like that. So you better go somewhere where you can play.
Well, I mean, I think it's even just as much of a matter that all this NIL stuff's coming out that guess what? What happens when that person, gets arrested? Something happens.
Yeah.
They have these deals. Like, what does that mean? Just because I think it's just much of this, concept of people, is it a contract thing that they have to abide by a certain number of measures in order to get paid or not? Are there certain things that can be taken away? But I think even in the same sense of what you're even talking about, believe me, if you're coming in from out of high school and coming into a college program and doing that, I guarantee you're probably going to have some jealousy and some target on your back. Yeah. And so that's the thing. I mean, it's honestly, it's great opportunity. And believe me, I think about it. Believe me, it's fortunate enough, second team all SEC. I'm just like, man, not saying that I was sitting here gotten some crazy NIL deal,
right?
But it's just like, man, what opportunities can that open for you? But also too, what other opportunities does that open up for your teammates? And I think that's even the thing that's even going to have to be looked at and dissected even more too. When you got somebody that's making a 7-figure deal, but you got a guy over here that's not making anything at all. Like, how is this stuff equate? Because, when it comes down to it, you're only strong as your weakest link.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff comes in with relationships and how people respect one another. It's a group full of alphas, man. Like, I think it's going to be something it's going to take time to figure out how it's regulated, if at all regulated. I think even the thing that's even more worried to me is like, how in the world are they not just going to have a package for a kid that they're trying to recruit to come to their school? Like, hey, this is what we already have here waiting for you. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people out there that are just absolute specimens, man. It's the intangibles you cannot coach,
right.
And obviously that's what you want on your field, but again, how is it controlled?
Yeah.
How is it regulated throughout the team? How is it dispersed to the team? Is it just that one person? It's just it's very dynamic. I really do. I think it's far more dynamic than what people are kind of giving it credit for and stuff too.
You know what blows my mind in that though, Andy, is you say that, right? And I agree with you, right? There are boosters out there and people, organizations, whatever, that would do stuff like that, put together packages. It has blown my mind, the NIL stuff, from the business perspective. But it blows my mind even more in like recruiting, because I don't get, recruiting's important. It's the lifeblood of college football. You have to do it to be successful. It's about the Jimmies and Joes.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But we had this conversation today regarding quarterbacks and some of what happened last year. And, I don't get worked up about recruits like some people do, because to me, it's like, it don't mean jack shit till you get on the field at a college level and do something. I don't care what you did at high school.
Yep.
And none of the guys, you can be a 5-star. I've talked to guys that play with Clowney. And he was a specimen. He was different. But, you've been on a team. Bro, nobody cares you were a 5-star recruit.
No.
Now you're just out here. So I don't know, if people have that money to throw around and they want to pay guys when they're high school kids to come to their school. But me, I'm like, bro, why am I going to – you haven't done anything. Go be all SEC, and then we can give you something.
And a lot of it's just even, because some people can handle it. Some people can be thrust into that position and are already playmakers. Some people have to work at it. And guess what? People that have to work at it, a literal perfect example is Melvin Ingram.
Yeah.
Melvin Ingram is a perfect example. Melvin, I believe, was a 4-star recruit, came in. Melvin was probably 275 playing linebacker, 280. you know, and honestly, it took him a while to buy in, but once he bought in and understand just the process, his technique, using what his strengths are to his advantage, he became the player that he is today,
Right.
you know, but it was the work and entrusting people, you know, of what he's being told of how he needs to execute to perform on Saturday. But you're right. As soon as you walk on that field, as soon as you sign that contract and you report, guess what? It don't matter no more.
Yeah.
You know, it is, you have to prove that stuff day in and day out.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, obviously they're looking for the attitudes and the people that, you know, but that comes with coaching and breaking it down. You know, what's the evaluation process?
Yeah.
You know, what are they looking for? What, you know, and everybody kind of has their own cues. I mean, I think Coach Long, one of his things was always even looking at was facial hair to see where people were in the growth process. But it makes sense when it comes to a young man. He's still showing a bunch of baby face. Guess what?
Yeah.
He ain't done growing.
Dude, Coach Lawing would talk about your wrists and your ankles and your hips, and I'm like, God, I mean, what?
It's fascinating, though,
Yeah,
man. I
it
mean,
really is.
And I say it even now. I'm like, go look at every single Nick Saban coach team, and go look at their D line. They got bottoms that can't fit through doors. You know, they got legs that are
Right.
tree trunks.
Right.
But it's because of the explosiveness and understanding, again, that control of the line of scrimmage, of that being such a focal point of where it starts. But again, it's evaluation. You know, seeing a skinny frame and going, I know we can. I mean, heck, when I was recruited, I was 225. I ain't seen that in 21 years, you know. But
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, how can you hold it? Can your body support it? Are you going to be faster, more explosive going through it? It's, you know, I think it's all an encompassing thing, you know. But it's seizing the day, you know, and making something out of it, man. And I think that's what I do. Honestly, my heart goes out to even all those kids that are on that team now, man. I don't want nothing but success for them, you know, to enjoy those highlight moments in their lives of, you know, big wins, you know. And I mean, golly, I mean, just so many things that even I got to experience, even from playing to even coaching, of just how exciting that stuff was, you know. And I think it's just, you know, it's what you yearn for the most for those kids. That's honestly what I hope for. It's just, you know, their hard work pays off, they're sacrificing, they're doing their job, and guess what? The scoreboard will take care of itself.
Yeah. For sure. Andy, I'm going to get you out of here soon. I want to go back to on the field, those special teams. Did you play a lot of special teams?
Special teams
At South Carolina? Did you play?
Oh, no. I mean, I honestly, my last year, which was Coach Beamer's first year.
Okay. Yeah.
He was special teams coordinator and stuff. And I mean, obviously just brought such good energy, positive energy. And my thing is, it was a great way that he allowed everybody an opportunity to play. There wasn't a person out there that was not evaluated to be on the special team. But honestly, like, kickoff returns just got to be so fun because I had Chris Culliver, you know, was a 5-star recruit, right, catching kicks, but then it was me, DeMarco, and Melvin Ingram. We were the 3 front wall. And so it was just like, knowing you had those guys, and even at the young age that they were, it was just like, man, like, talk about confidence rolling in there. And especially even with our responsibilities, I mean, it just became to where it was a mismatch. I mean, that back wall, we would literally have like the 1s, 2s, and 3s, which are usually like DBs, free safeties, and maybe a linebacker, and I outweigh them all.
Right.
You know, so it was just pick party. You know, somebody trying to cut the edge. I mean, just absolutely rock.
You just love to lay people out.
Oh my gosh, why, who doesn't? Who doesn't like watching a body fly through the air from pure impact?
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Exactly. Well, that leads me to, again, you mentioned Shane Beamer ball. It's funny. I feel like that's something that hasn't been talked about nearly as much. And again, we're all excited for Shane Beamer. We got the Beamer ball koozie, got the Beamer ball merch, but we haven't heard a lot about special teams. I mean, what do you expect? And he and Pete Limbo, too. I'd expect special teams. It's hard to predict, but I would have to think at some point this season, whether it be one or multiple, there will be a game or multiple games where special teams positively impacts a game
absolutely.
for South Carolina this year.
That is one thing. I mean, I think even with Coach Beamer being the special teams coach, even the last year I played, and even as a graduate assistant, every single week there was a wrinkle. There was something that he found a weakness in the special teams. And a lot of that comes with mainly, honestly, on like punt return. Punt return is your best opportunity to where you can find somebody that's soft, that has poor technique, leaves early, something like that. That little wrinkle can make all the difference in the world. And I mean, believe me, that wrinkle happened to us even when we lost to Florida in 2006. You know, it was literally they cued on our guard. He was firing off the football rather than just standing big. And guess what happened? They allowed him to fire off, and they stepped right behind him. But little cues like that.
Why'd you have to bring
make
up
the
that
difference.
game, Andy? Why'd you have to bring up that
Just
one?
an example.
You just wanted me to talk about you slamming that dude, that
But
that
even
safety.
the same thing, I think a lot of it is just seeing it. I think even when it comes to this, all I care about seeing is I want to see just that full out effort all the time. Offense, defense, special teams. And I mean, special teams is a third of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and big things happen, you know, whether it's flipping the field, a block kick, a muff punt. I mean, so much can happen. And honest to goodness, why not take more advantage of special teams and it being a cue to keep people on their toes? Because if it's just a rhythmic thing that people do, people are used to that. Why not change it up to different things to keep people, you know, honest? And honestly, just try to give yourself in a position to be successful. But to me, I think special teams ought to be a prolific thing that we should see. You know, and honestly, that's usually even where you see even tomorrow's stars get their berth and get their run is by being great special teams players. And I mean, that's even one of the things that they'll tell you first, even in college locker room when it comes down to it. Guess what? Like, you want to go play in the NFL? You better play special teams because they watch that film too, man.
Right.
You know, and see what your effort is out there during that time frame. So I'd love to see it, man. I'd love to see block kicks. I'd love to see some crazy wrinkles, you know, some fake kicks if it's there and it presents itself and stuff. I mean, I think that whole mentality right now of like, what do we have to lose?
Yeah. Year one.
Take a shot, man.
Year one. Why not? You brought up a good point, Andy. I know we talked about this before, but talking about what you want to see and the guys, it sounds so simple and elementary, and people may not realize just how important this is. But the guys uplifting each other, slapping each other on the butt, you know, playing with passion and energy and emotion. And you know, I remember you mentioning that is something you are specifically looking for. Why, like specifically, why is that? I mean, obviously it's something you feel you hadn't seen enough of lately with Gamecock football.
I think that's the thing, man. I mean, again, just even my mode of how I learned to play football, just being such a team aspect, team-oriented mindset that guess what? We can only do this and be successful together. You know, I mean, same thing. I mean, running back scores a touchdown, go find the O-line. Yeah. You know, receiver catches a touchdown, same thing. I mean, to me, I think it's not just one person scoring, everybody scores. Time to go celebrate. I promise you they practice. I guarantee you they practice that on the practice field. We score a touchdown, right? Go score. You know, O-lineman to go score. You know, go celebrate, because that's a big moment, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, touchdowns don't come easy. It's hard. It's hard to do that stuff. You know, so take advantage of every time that you're able to make it into the end zone as a big play. But I think even a lot of it is, it's just so much of it. It's just the emotional part of the game. And I think a lot of it's been part of what Coach Beamer has really tried to put a finger on when he's first got here. It's just everything you do with enthusiasm. You know, again, the moment for me of last year that I could use as an example is when we played Texas A&M here at home. Now, again, I'm not even talking about near the end of the game. I'm talking this was like the first punt that we made, and a ball rolls down, you know, within the 10-yard line, and there's one person that comes over and grabs the ball and just hands it to the ref. Like, I mean, that's a big play. Yeah. I mean, you're flipping the field, you're pinning them deep. Like, this is the opportunity you're looking for, and I think that's where it even your mindset has to go to. That every single play is an opportunity, and you don't know what's going to happen. You know, and even when you go back and look, even throughout the course of a football game, that usually comes down to about a handful of plays. But you have no way of knowing what those plays are, you know. So, and I think that's just you know, you win together, you lose together, you're only strengthened by one another, man. And, you know, really, those, you know, this year's team, there's only going to be one team like them. You know, next year's team, there's only going to be one team like them, you know. And it's just that bond that you create with one another from waking up at 5 a.m., going to classes, coming and grinding, you know, at practice every single day, going home doing schoolwork, being away from your parents and stuff. I mean, you're living and dying with your brothers every single day, right? You know, and when it's time to be under the lights in front of everybody and exert all that emotion, man, like, why aren't you? Right. I mean, that's just my feeling upon it. you know.
Andy, you've been gracious with your time. I appreciate it. Before I get you out of here, though, you mentioned that, but season begins in 3 days. The Shane Beamer era will officially kick off, and the Gamecocks will embark on this journey that is Beamer ball and a new era. From week 1 to week 13, anything specifically on field you are looking for, you'd like to see from this football team in Beamer's first season?
I mean, I think really when it comes down to it, you just want to see progress made. You know, and I think that's where it's, either how, I don't want to say obviously like how the team's managed. I think a lot of it is, seeing people that aren't giving effort, people are getting out, put the next person in, to just the overall team aspect. I mean, we get a sack, you want to see people celebrating and having fun, man. And I mean, when you're winning, you're dominating, football is fun. And I think that's just what I want to see throughout the years, no matter what, even if it's garbage time. You want to see people out there giving their full effort, because I mean, they're representing themselves, they're representing their families, and they're representing University of South Carolina,
right.
And they're representing all the fans that are out there, man. So I mean, you can't take for granted that the time that you're out there, So it's just every day. That's all I mean, when it comes down to Saturdays, that's all I care to see. It's just that all-out effort, man, and just letting the scoreboard take care of itself, and guys just have to go out there and execute, man.
It flies by. It flies by. It'll be over before you know it.
Man.
Even if you have a 6-year career, it'll be over before you know it.
Believe me, I'd hate to know how sore I would be if I had to go out there and hit today.
You wouldn't want to go fling a body around?
Oh, no,
I feel like you could probably still go fling some Eiu bodies around. Now, Georgia might be a little bit different.
I mean, give me a series. Tops.
You can make it happen. Andy, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. I sincerely appreciate it. Appreciate the First Lady for bringing you out. It was great to meet you as well. But tight end to win, baby. I think we're going to see a lot of the tight end this year.
That's right.
Give it up for Andy Boyd, former Gamecocks tight end. Great stuff. Great stuff. Always a pleasure. No, serious. Appreciate you, Andy. Always a fantastic conversation when Andy joins the show. Always a great time when Andy joins the show. He's been on many, many times, I feel like, and will be on many more in the future. There we go. Again, taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. We're 6:13 here, so got about 45 minutes. So let's see. Wow, look at the update. Look at the progress. Jeremy Smith, my good buddy, Apex Art and Design right here. Be sure to go follow him on Instagram, by the way. Fantastic work. So the piece you see in front of you, the Kevin Harris piece, which we are giving away, is just one of many pieces that Jeremy has done. I've actually got the one in my studio that if you tune in to the daily live stream, the Daily Crow, you see it behind me each and every single day. The DJ Swearinger, the hit piece. He's also, by the way, I'm going to tease it, the Steven Garcia, Alabama piece is about to be released. I would say probably any day now, on the way. A fantastic, fantastic piece. I mean, these are must-have pieces from my guy, Jeremy. So you got that. You got a Wes Clark if you want to do baseball. You got a Jadeveon Clowney, the hit, all different types of pieces. So really, really great stuff. Appreciate Jeremy coming out and doing this, and obviously what he's doing right now, literally live painting George Rogers. Really, really cool stuff. Yes, very cool stuff. So again, the only Heisman winner from the state of South Carolina. That's it, period, point blank. Again, we will take your questions, your comments, your calls. Again, it is game week, 3 days away. We finally made it. Again, for those who just got here a little late, I was telling Jeremy before we got going, I was like, man, it's crazy. I remember, we started this thing, it's like late July or whatever, and I remember sitting up here thinking, man, this is going to be awesome when it's game week, and sure enough, boom, we're here. 3 days away from the beginning of the Shane Beamer era. Looking ahead to Saturday's game, South Carolina Eiu, the Gamecocks are a 42.5-point favorite. 42.5-point favorite. So it should be, it's supposed to be, it's expected to be a very, very, very fun night at Williams-Brice Stadium. But again, if you guys have any questions in the crowd, you're more than welcome to text them in, or you can just yell them at me. Also, if you want free stickers, we've also got pocket schedules. My buddy Gamecock Doug, he brought those by. We've also got Beat Eastern Illinois stickers. I don't know if Kirk's in the house. I don't know if Kirk made it. Normally he brings a couple rolls. That's surprising. I might need to text Kirk. Yeah, I know. He told me he was coming too. I've got his shirt. I've got Kirk's shirt. Well, it's in the mail. It's with the koozies. I'm still waiting. But yeah, anyways, make sure you enter the raffle for that Kevin Harris piece. We're going to give that away at the end of the show. all those tuned in digitally as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our good buddy Phil says, what should he have for dinner? Something vegan, Phil, since you are vegan. But I don't know. Whatever you want. Again, we've got here, though, 50-cent wings, $3 drafts. Great crowd out here tonight at Tin Roof. Appreciate you guys coming out, like I said, just a couple of days away from kickoff. We also have Lou Holtz on a stick. Lou Holtz on a stick made the appearance. So I don't know if I can maybe no, that's not going to work. All right, whatever. Anyways, good buddy Rod Trafford sent this out to me, former Gamecocks tight end as well. Lou Holtz on a stick. So really love that. But anyways, looking ahead to Saturday, like I said, Gamecocks 42.5-point favorites. You'd like to think this is going to be a name-your-score type of game for South Carolina. And that I feel like that statement makes Gamecock fans a little uncomfortable from what I've noticed. I feel like there are a lot of jaded Gamecock fans out there that have just time and time again seen their team show up in games that they were supposed to win, they were expected to win, they were big favorites in, and they laid an egg, or they fell flat, or they underperformed, or, I've seen some score predictions like 24-17 South Carolina, 35-21 South Carolina. Guys, I tell you this, if South Carolina wins this game by 14 points, I give you permission to worry and hit the panic button. I do. I give you permission to worry about the rest of our season. It should be a fun night for the Garnet and Black, though, man. I mean, you break this thing down however you like, keys to the game, key matchups, but South Carolina's going to have a very, very good time against EIU Saturday night. The real question is this. I would ask you guys, what do you think is going to be a greater number? The average amount, and Alex McGrath posed this question. You might have already seen this, but the average number of cold beverages consumed by Gamecock fans at the tailgate or points scored by Eastern Illinois in the game. I think the beverages probably. I would imagine the average number of cold beverages consumed by Gamecock fans, the tailgate is going to be double digits. I really believe so. And I don't know that EIU is going to get double digits. I don't. So, yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think those in the lots are going to increase that number greatly as well. Those in the lots will surely help that number. So, no, it's going to be a good time. Like I said, I think you're going to have a very good opportunity, as Andy was saying, to empty the bench, if you will, to get a lot of guys' experience, to, build confidence, really just truly build confidence in week one. I think that's what this is about. And maybe I talked about this last week, but I've seen fans on social media saying, why would you play a game like this? And this does nothing for you. Like, this doesn't help you. After the last couple of years of Carolina football, why would anybody complain about a game where we have the opportunity to go out and just kick somebody's ass? I don't know why that would bother you. You know what I memean? So having the opportunity to do that, to take care of business, I think this is the perfect game to start the Shane Beamer era. And people have asked me if you could only go to one game this year, which I don't have to pick. I'm going to be at all of them. But if you could only go to one game, which would you pick? And I said the first one. I don't care who you're playing. I really believe Saturday night is going to be special. I think it's going to be a special night at Willie B. The beginning of the Shane Beamer era. There's only going to be one. There's only going to be one first game, and the emotions and everything that's going to happen. Packed stadiums again. Nobody's really talking about that anymore. Packed stadiums, packed tailgates. It's going to be probably the most raucous FCS environment at Willie B you've ever seen. So really, really good time. But again, taking your questions, your comments, everything else, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Again, I could spend the next 40 minutes to you guys breaking down the EIU roster, but I'm not going to do that because South Carolina should dominate this team in every facet of the game. I can tell you they got a freshman quarterback in Otto Coons. They got an offensive line that surrendered 5 sacks to Indiana State. They do have a wide receiver that had 100 yards receiving. They've got a linebacker, Taylor Johnson, that's solid, that had 66 tackles in the spring. Other than that, it's really about what do the Gamecocks do. And one of the keys for me in this game is just execute the fundamentals. Andy talked about it. Week one, I want to see this team. I'll be interested to see what the balance is between emotion and just being locked into the task at hand. Because as much as I've liked what Shane Beamer has said about his emotion, how he's going to be excited running out of the tunnel, it's funny. People were commenting and DMing me yesterday. They said, "Do you feel like Shane Beamer was a little off in his media availability?" I'm like, I think he's just locked into game week. Like there's a task at hand. This isn't talking season. This isn't the talking tour. This isn't the welcome home tour. He's not like, this is football. Like we got to lock in and play. I don't care who who the opponent is. I mean, it's a nameless, faceless opponent. They got to go take care of the business. They got to go do a job. So I think he's locked in. I think that's one of the reasons you saw with the whole battle armor thing. And no more of battle armor. In case you missed it, Shane Beamer's shooting it down really quickly. We are going to wear white garnet white. I wish it was going to be this white helmet or probably the newer white helmet, but either way, we're going to wear white garnet white. And he took all the drama away from that, and I understand it. I'd love to hear. Do y'all care about the battle armor being gone? Do you care? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? I mean, is it something? I'm not one of those hardos that's like, I think we weren't winning because we were, the battle armor. I mean, dude, that's content for fans. That has nothing to do with the team. But I think the messaging behind what Beamer's saying, I think number one, he wants to separate himself from the previous era, which I totally respect. I am more excited about the fact it sounds like we're going to be much more traditional under Beamer uniform-wise. He had said we're not going to wear 12 different combos, which thank God some of the combos we were wearing were hideous. So I'm glad we're not doing that. But I think he wants to separate himself from the previous coaching staff and also just put his own stamp, put his own mark on things. And I think just make the main thing, which is going and playing great football and winning the football game and dominating. Like, whether we're wearing garnet helmets or black helmets or white helmets really shouldn't matter that much at the end of the day. But whatever. You got a question? Go ahead.
Yes. Juju McDowell, he's been doing well at practice for the past month, and he's actually been getting a lot of praise.
A lot of praise, yeah.
He's been getting a lot of praise. And with that coming along as him being, what would you say, third in line, get a lot of snaps?
Yeah, third or fourth, but I mean, he'll be in the rotation. Yeah.
So getting that much praise when you have two pretty much the best running backs in the country, where would you put South Carolina's running core at with other SEC teams in the country? I know you don't.
It's one of the best. No, I mean, it's one of the best. I mean, I'll rank them. If you really want me to rank them, I'll rank them. I mean, I don't know. Here's the hard part about ranking them. I don't know what A&M has besides Spiller, really. I don't know who Kentucky has beyond Rodriguez. I don't know who Georgia, every player they have beyond Zamir White. I mean, we know our running back room better than anybody in the country. Nobody else even knows who the hell Juju McDowell is. Most people don't even know who Zaquandre White is outside of the spring game. So you'd have to go through and look at those rosters. The only reason I said before, though, is I don't worry about ranking the running backs in the running back rooms is because – I mean, every fan base is biased and think they have the best running back room anyways. I mean, A&M fans think Spiller's the best back in the conference. Georgia fans think it's White. Kentucky fans, Rodriguez. Auburn fans think it's Tank Bigsby. We think it's Kevin Harris. Whatever. But certainly, I mean, I'll tell you this. Marshawn Lloyd's the most talented running back on the roster. And I know he hasn't proven anything. He's got to go prove it for sure. But, I mean, if you believe in recruiting at all, Marshawn Lloyd's the most talented back on the roster. He's the highest rated running back prospect to step foot on campus since Marcus Lattimore. So, and I love Kevin Harris. Now, will Marshawn Lloyd be as productive as Kevin Harris was? I don't know. That's yet to be determined. But Kevin Harris was a guy, I think his other offers were like Navy and Marshall or something. I mean, I don't know. Very.
Then who will take QB1? That's my question.
I mean, Doty is QB1. Luke Doty's QB1. That's why I think the RB1, you're saying. Well, I mean, I think that, it'll be interesting to see how Satterfield and them handle that. I mean, the coach speak answer, right, would be, well, it'll be dictated off the situation. You know what I mean? But yeah, when it's crunch time and you need to have a number one player, right? I had somebody comment before and say, we were talking about wide receiver, who's your number one guy? And they're like, well, we don't need a number one guy. We'll just throw it to a bunch of guys. Like, no, you need to know in crunch time. Fourth quarter, we're down a touchdown. We got to drive. Who's the guy? Who is the guy? So I do think it is, though, for the South Carolina running back room, sort of dictated by situation, just because Kevin Harris, I mean, he's your third in inches, fourth in inches back. But is Lloyd getting the bulk of the carries because he's a little bit more of an explosive outside the tackles? He can beat you in the pass game, too. I think he's probably a better, more well-rounded all-around back than Kevin Harris. I'll tell you this, though, if I had to bet, I think Marshawn Lloyd's RB1 by the end of the year. If he's 90% of the player we thought he was, I thought he was going to be the focal point of the offense last year before his injury. So I think if he's that guy, man, I think if he lives up to the billing, he will be RB1 at the end of the season. So I don't know. We'll see. But either way, good question, though. I mean, I feel very confident in this running back room, no doubt. I think we all should, certainly. And it's what a great problem, right? We have a plethora of options when it comes to the running back position, most certainly. So, again, great question. 843-790-3377. Let's see. I'm not even going to read that comment. Was there a game tonight? Boise State, UCF tonight? Boise, is there a game tonight? I know UAB plays. Who? The Gamecocks do play tonight. Jacksonville State Gamecocks taking on UAB. So, yeah, the Gamecocks do technically play. So, that'll be fun. Anybody watch any of the games tomorrow night? I'll be very curious to watch Tennessee tomorrow night. You know Tennessee, I don't know if we have any gamblers in here. Tennessee is a 35.5-point favorite over Bowling Green. I don't know much about Bowling Green. I do know Tennessee is probably going to be hot garbage this year. They're going to beat Bowling Green, but are they going to beat them by more than 5 touchdowns? I don't know. I think you got to take Bowling Green there, the points. You have to. You have to. Josh Heupel's first one as coach. And we're doing SEC gambling picks, by the way. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've already made my pick. I got Bowling Green plus 35.5. We're going to be tracking them each and every week, too. So I got my SEC gambling picks locked in. Heck, I'll go through them. I should have had the graphic already made, but my pick of the week, though, is Georgia plus 3.5. I think Georgia smacks Clemson. I think that Clemson, new quarterback, all they lost. And that's not even biased talking. I just really think this is Georgia's year. Unfortunately, I think Georgia's for real. I think they finally have the quarterback. I know we're talking Gamecocks, but I think JT Daniels is the truth. And they're just loaded everywhere. We talk about talent and the type of players you have to win big. They have it. They have talent at every position, every level. They're the Alabama of the East. They're head and shoulders better than anybody in the SEC East. I think they finally do get Bama this year, believe it or not. But I feel like we say that every year. So, well, Kirby. Funny you mentioned Kirby. Kirby's just Will Muschamp with a better roster. I fully believe that. I really believe that, honestly. I fully believe that. I think he's just Muschamp with a better roster. Maybe he's not as stubborn, though, because he's actually tried to update his offense. And, again, with Daniels, I think they're going to try to be more spread, but I've always viewed – I put it to you this way. I say that because I think if Kirby Smart would have came to Columbia, I think it would have been the same result. I don't think I think 5 years done, we'd the same thing. We'd have been in the same situation. But everything happens for a reason. I'm glad it happened. We got Beamer. So, yeah, I've got Bowling Green plus 35.5. I've got Kentucky minus 30.5 against La Monroe. Arkansas covering. Under in the Bama-Miami game, 61.5. I think Bama's going to smoke Miami probably. Mizzou minus 14.5. We got the over in Auburn-Akron. Georgia we talked about. Florida minus 23.5 against FAU. That number seems very low. I think Florida is going to just run all over them. A&M minus 28.5 against Kent State. That's easy money. Vanderbilt is a 21.5-point favorite over East Tennessee State. I don't know anything about East Tennessee State. I can't say I do. There's no way I'm going to pick Vandy to beat anybody by 22 points, so I'm taking ETSU plus 21.5. I'll skip the LSU game. Ole Miss covering 10.5 against Louisville. LSU, UCLA, I think sneaky one of the best games of the weekend. LSU has to go to the Rose Bowl. They are a 3.5-point favorite. I got UCLA in the points. I think UCLA wins the game. I got UCLA in the game. So, I don't know. I'm just not bought into LSU yet. Questions all over the offensive line, which we just talked about, the O-line. I don't know, man. LSU's getting a lot of hype. I think UCLA's really good. They got a really good quarterback. So, I got UCLA actually winning that game straight up. But I wouldn't bet on the Carolina game if I were you, but if you had to, I think you have to take the Gamecocks minus 42.5. You're banking on Beamer wants to score at will. You're banking on the backups coming in and being just as good as your starters or having success like the starters did. I think you had the only play in that game is laying the number Gamecocks minus 42.5. Jesse Jacobs asked a question from YouTube. Is there a game in the ACC you think Clemson could actually lose this year? I mean, their toughest game is like NC State. I mean, who are they going to lose to? Who's going to beat them? Who's going to beat them? They don't play Miami. They don't play Miami. They don't play Miami or North Carolina in the regular season. I think NC State and Pittsburgh are their toughest games, so I don't think so. I don't think they'll lose a conference game. I mean, they're going to be 3 touchdown plus favorites in all of those games that I mentioned. So, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll see. I tend to think, honestly, man, what the thing is, the game is so early. Unless one of the two blows the other out, I really think it doesn't matter. I think they can still make the playoff, unfortunately. So, both. But if they're 12-1, or what, they'll be – if they're 12-1 after the ACC title, trust me, I don't want them to get in. I don't want them to get in, for sure. So, again, 843-790-3377. Like I said, the big news of the week, obviously, Tuesday. Zeb Nolan getting the start in typical fashion. Gamecock social media just lost its mind. People asking me, is this Colin Hill 2.0? What is going on? And I think people have this misconception, by the way, about me. They think I'm only going to talk about the coach when I want him fired. And I've had Beamer's back all week because the fan reaction to the Zeb Nolan thing, and I've seen a lot of, oh my God, I thought this coaching staff was different. I can't believe this. And they're trying to compare. Gamecock fans right now are like people that have just gotten out of a really bad toxic relationship, and they're with a new girl or new dude, and they're projecting all the past stuff on the new person. Like all that, they're hanging on to that baggage and they're projecting it on that new person. That's what a lot of Gamecock fans are doing right now. Seriously. They still have PTSD and trauma from what happened with Chump. They have PTSD and trauma from him, and they're projecting it on Beamer. My biggest thing is this, and I saw something today on social media from a fan. I don't trust him yet. I'm the opposite. I'm innocent until proven guilty. Beamer's done nothing for me that I shouldn't trust his decision-making. Will Muschamp had proven to not know what the hell was going on with quarterbacks. He had proven to not have a competent offense or hire a competent OC. Shane Beamer, I don't agree with it. And it's nothing like last year. This is nothing like last year, guys, where you had a situation where you had a starter coming back, a new guy came in, took his job. This is a situation where Zeb Nolan has come in. He is the best. I think what happened, Shane Beamer, Marcus Satterfield, they looked around their quarterback room and said, oh, wow, we have a guy who's a true freshman who's never taken a snap, and we have an FCS transfer who's never taken a snap at the Power 5 level, and then we have a walk-on. Again, if you just critically think about it, and you listen to what Shane Beamer has said, and you listen to Satterfield, they have said the most basic things of, we just want a guy who's going to run the offense effectively and run it efficiently and can get us out of the huddle and knows how to pick up a blitz and knows where the ball's supposed to go. So people have said, well, what does that say about the quarterback room? Is it in bad shape? Did people think our quarterback room was like, we had like a bunch of Heisman winners like waiting in the wings behind Luke Doty? I've respected the hell out of what Shane Beamer said with the no doom and gloom thing after Luke Doty's injury. Because, hey, I felt like he was talking to me. I was one that said, hey, depending on Luke Doty's status, the Gamecocks' bowl hopes hinge on his health. I don't think I said anything outlandish. And Beamer made the point that, hey, our season doesn't hinge on one guy, next man up. Totally respect that mindset and that mentality. But the outlook of Carolina football changes if Luke Doty can't go. Let's make that very, very clear. Let's make that very clear. If Luke Doty cannot play this season, yeah, it changes the outlook of week 2 if he can't go. It just does. Luckily, he will be able to go. But, I think it's a situation, again, selfishly for Shane Beamer, this is his season opener. This is his season opener, not just ours. It's his. This is his debut as a head coach. He wants this thing to go as smoothly as it possibly can. The last thing any of us want is, because you can assume that Jason Brown, and I'm not saying they wouldn't, But we can assume they'd go, Jason Brown or Colton Gauthier or Jordan or whoever, they'd go out there and they'd play well and look great doing it and take us to a big victory. But there's also a chance they go out there and they piss down their leg. They've never played in front of 80,000. Colton Gauthier's never even played in a college game. Jason Brown is an FCS quarterback, whether you want to admit that or not. So I think they looked around, they saw that, and they said, okay, we got this guy, Zeb Nolan, who wants to play. He played a game 3 months ago. He's been at Iowa State. Beamer saw him firsthand shred the Oklahoma defense. So I think they looked around. They said, okay, we got this guy. And, I mean, again, if you just read between the lines, I think it's the Gamecock fans that are losing their minds over this because they still are on social media if you go on there. The Gamecock fans that are losing their mind, this is no slight to anybody, but those who tune in to what I do daily or whatever entity you follow, or if you're on social media, you saw this coming. You knew this was probably going to happen. The momentum, the signs were all pointing towards Zeb Nolan getting the starting quarterback job. I mean, when Beamer Satterfield, when a coach says, well, okay, what's this update on the quarterback battle? Well, Zeb's only had a couple practices, so we're going to give him a couple more. If they didn't want him to be the guy, why do you need to see more? If I went out there and practiced with the team, they wouldn't wait to see more practice. They'd be like, no, he's not going to play. Right? So, I mean, it's just you could read between the lines and kind of understand what was going on. But I think it's the fans I think there are many fans that didn't even know who Zeb Nolan was till Tuesday, and they just saw he's named starting quarterback, and they're just assuming he's a starting quarterback for the rest of the season, which is not the case. It's not the case. He's not QB1. He's a starting quarterback for game one, but he's not QB1. You talk to anybody around Gamecock football, they'll tell you the team is bought into Luke Doty. They're invested in Luke Doty. He's the leader of the football team. He's the heart and soul of the football team. Bottom line, period, end of discussion. And those guys all have great, iron sharpens iron. It's great for competition and everything else. And Shane Beamer's not going to come out and say, hey, when Luke Doty's 110% healthy, he's just going to be our guy again, and there's no competition. But from everything if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I mean, heck, I've already been wrong once. I said I didn't think Zeb Nolan would ever see the field. I literally went 2 weeks ago here, and I said that. Zeb Nolan will never see the field. He's a roster filler. He's a depth filler. He's here to help practice, because that's what Shane Beamer said. But I think this is Luke Doty's team. I'd be shocked. I'd be floored if Zeb Nolan started more than one game. That wasn't related to injury. And knock on wood that Luke Doty is going to be fine, which he is. He is. For those, I do think Zeb will stay dressed out the rest of the season, though. I think that Luke Doty, with being a mobile quarterback, and he's going to put himself at risk a lot, and those guys get hit around, and there's a chance it happens again, or he gets knocked out for a play or two or whatever. I mean, you need more than one quarterback. So it's just been kind of funny. This week has been funny leading into game week. I mean, of course, the emotions are running very high, and I think Gamecock fans were to the point we're 3 days away. We're so anxious and so eager for the ball to be spotted and for kickoff to happen that, people are starting to lose it a little bit. It's like kind of like when you sit out in the sun a little bit too long, you start to see things and all that. I think Gamecock fans are starting to lose it a little bit. But no, it's fine. It's fine. The beauty's in the banter, and it's been a lot of fun. And again, it's the quarterback battle that none of us asked for. So I would just say this, though. I said this a few weeks ago, and somebody actually just texted in. I don't know if you're here, by the way, or not. If you are and you text this number. Oh, yeah, here we go. J-Mo in the building. Yeah, there you go. Thoughts on Joyner not starting? You talking about a quarterback? I mean, he's starting at wide receiver. He can't start at two positions. Well, he beat Georgia. He did beat Georgia. I don't know that he beat Georgia. He just didn't lose to Georgia. He didn't lose the game. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy, but I mean, it's not like he went out there and shred their defense. He just did enough to burn the clock and not turn it up. I don't want to be like the stickler that takes something away from Dak, but I think at this point it's pretty well, Dak's a receiver. He is. I will tell you though, I mean, since we're here at Tin Roof, whatever, beers are flowing. I mean, from the people I've talked to, I have heard that Dak is the number 2 guy going to Saturday. So will we see Dak under center? I don't know. But he's been getting a lot of reps at quarterback. I know Beamer said 3% of his time. I think it's a little more than 3, but I mean, he's a starting receiver. So I think you're going to see Dak with the ball in his hands for sure. And I'd expect, I know we're all pulling for Dak. I literally have said over the course of Dak's career, he should have transferred 3 times. I mean, I just thought it was in the best interest of him, especially if he wanted to play quarterback, which I thought he was dead set on playing quarterback. And it obviously turns out he loves being a Gamecock. And, hey, he loves also probably being a football player at an SEC school. That's a lot more fun than being a football player at Eiu. You know what I mean? So, no, I mean, I'm hoping for big things for Dak. I think that Dak is one of the guys that will benefit most from a new coaching staff. I think he'll be utilized. He's got an undeniable skill set. I've said that 1,000 times. He's got an undeniable skill set, though, his athleticism, his agility. I mean, especially and I hear from people all the time that watched him in high school at Fort Dorchester that just swear by the kid. So I think he's going to have a good season. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver or he's even going to be our number one receiver, but I think he'll have a good season. That's what I want to see probably more than anything on Saturday is because, again, it's a game. No, there's nobody – I think most of us expect South Carolina's going to win, of course. They're going to have their way. They're going to dominate. If you're starting to pick it apart, here's the thing about the game that's intriguing on Saturday. I mean, you're not really going to be able to draw conclusions from it. We can go beat Eiu by 100. Doesn't mean we're going to win 10 games. Doesn't even mean we're going to win 6 games. It doesn't matter. But you can start to develop confidence. And, I mean, here's the thing. If you can't do it this Saturday, when are you going to do it? So, wide receiver for me. Is there anybody that's going to step up and begin to emerge as the number one guy? Is it Dak? The starting 3 receivers right now are Jalen Brooks, Josh Vann, and Dak Joyner. I know we focus mainly on tight ends when I had Andy up here, but the wide receiver position, man, I mean, what's ironic about going into this season is we do not have a great history in football, but we have had fantastic individual players. And over the course of the history of kind of football, it seems like receiver and DB, we have always been pretty stacked. And those are our 2 biggest question marks. That's what's shocking to me is like, how are those the 2 positions that we are lacking at most? But we are. So, I just want to see, again, I know it's EIU, but again, it's EIU. So you think they're going to be guys that are going to have opportunities to step up and to make big plays for you and make a difference in the game. So, I just wonder which of those guys will it be? Will it be Josh Vann? Will it be Jalen Brooks? Will it be Dak Joyner? I have no idea. Who emerged? Is Amarian Brown going to step up? Does Ortre Smith do something? What type of game does he have? So, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. What's the update on that, Jeremy? Looking good. Looking very good. Yeah, looking very, very good. State Fair, you said that's going to be at? State Fair. Wow. Great stuff. Yeah, that's incredible. It's incredible. It's Jeremy Smith, Apex Art and Design. Be sure you follow him on social media. Again, 843-790-3377. But good question. My guy, J-Mo Tin Roof. Great question. Again, remember 50-cent wings, $3 drafts here at Tin Roof. And appreciate you guys coming out. Yeah, appreciate y'all coming out. Again, taking your questions. We've got about 15 minutes to go. Okay, all right, we're good. Just checking the laptop. We're good. We're good. Matthew Ford says, if we win 7 games, I will shave my mustache, whoever Matthew Ford is. So I've had people try to tell me if this happens, shave my beard. I'm like, that's a punishment. I'm not doing that. Hell no. No. Like if we win 8 games, shave the beard. It's like, no, that's a punishment. That's not a celebration. It's like the opposite. So, yeah, anyways. I'm excited. Yeah, obviously, we're all excited for Saturday and what's to come. The wide receivers I'm most looking forward to. I don't think who starts at quarterback Saturday matters. They're all going to play. I expect to see a lot of Zeb Nolan. Jason Brown will get in, I'd imagine. Colton Gauthier will get in. Even Connor Jordan. Dak Joyner probably behind center will get in. The hope is they all get in. The hope is ideally it's 35-0, 35-3 at half. Second half, we're able to rotate guys. And that's great for recruiting, too, man. When you can empty the roster, when you can actually, get a bunch of guys in, and it's a fun night for you. I mean, that's one thing that helps that team in the upstate when you have that many guys play. It does help in recruiting. So, go.
That actually does make that Jordan would be a wildcat.
Yeah, dude, I need a – well, it's not Doty this week, but I need a Doty to Joyner to Amarian Brown trick play more than I need air to breathe. Like, truly, yeah. I mean, and yes, I love the idea of getting Dak Joyner behind center. I love it. I mean, this is an offense, man, looking for playmakers. That's what was so baffling about last year was we were not good offensively. We were not. Kevin Harris was great, but as an offense, we were not good. And it's like, why would you not exhaust every option you have, every athlete on your roster? Why would you not utilize them? And it was just, you had Dak just sitting on, and I feel bad. I felt bad for Dak because it's like the last thing I want for Dak Joyner, and this happens to some guys, and it's just the reality of college sports and the business, and you're behind certain guys on the depth chart, but you have guys that have all this talent, this ability, and speed, and size, and it just, you feel like almost it goes to waste. They never really get the opportunity to show it, or they never really just get the reps, so they're never on the right place at the right time. You know, it's unfortunate. It really is. It's unfortunate. So I think that'll change this year. I really hope for Dak that will change this year, and I think certainly they're going to put him in a good position, a great position to succeed. But, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Got to have somebody step up. Tight end to win, of course, again. I expect them to be really good for you. I think Nick Muse is going to have a very solid season. I know he catches some flack from the fan base, and he sort of brings it on himself, but big Nick energy. Maybe next week I'll wear my big Nick energy shirt up here. I got a big energy shirt at home. Big Nick energy, though. I like Nick. E.J. Jenkins, obviously, 6'7.5". I think he's going to be a situational guy a little bit more so, I think, in the red zone. I think you're going to see Sal kind of use him in the red zone. Jaheim Bell, to me, and I would ask you guys this. See you, J-Mo. Appreciate you. I would ask you guys this. Who do you think, if you had to pick one player, who's the Kevin Harris of this season? Who's the guy nobody's talking about? Because I don't think we were really talking about Kevin Harris last year. I mean, after Lloyd went down, you're like, okay, well, just who's going to step up? I think Jaheim Bell could be the Kevin Harris of the season offensively. I think, like, Bell could have a monster year for South Carolina. I think he's just that, when you look at what Beamer's done in the past and where he was at Oklahoma and what Lincoln Riley likes to do and their type of offense and that Oklahoma style with the H-back and that athlete. Jaheim Bell kind of fits that mold. We saw him at running back in the spring game. So I think he could be that guy. I think he could be that guy. We'll see. But the tight end position is loaded. Key Mullins, tight end position, you have plenty of depth. So, it's been funny to hear Shane Beamer and Nick Muse and those guys say, we are going to throw to the tight. I don't know what Gamecock fans' obsession is with a tight end. I really don't. I have no idea. Tight end questions on every call-in show. Like, I don't know. We appreciate the tight ends. Really, we do. So, let's see. We had a text here on the text line. Bad Brad, my guy, what's up? He says, what's more likely, South Carolina getting more total rushing yards or EIU getting more total overall yards? So number versus South Carolina rushing yards versus EIU total yards, what number is greater? I got to say rushing yards, man. I mean, I think South Carolina, if they rush for less than 200, I will be massively disappointed. And I think this is a game you're bumping close to 300. And I don't see EIU getting 300 yards on it. I just don't. I don't see them getting 300 yards of offense. Also, he says, another one, the numbers. What's more likely, South Carolina getting more passing yards? So South Carolina passing yards versus EIU total yards. That's tough. It's going to be close. He has arms. I think he can throw. I don't think in his limited film I've watched, yeah, he can sling it. Hold on, what? Me throwing a football? Hold on, what video was that? Oh, no, I posted a video of Zeb throwing. I thought you meant me specifically. I was like, hold on, what video are we talking about? No, yeah, dude, I think he can. Listen, I think we're going to be run heavy, obviously, but yeah, this is the game. There's a little bit of pressure in the sense of, I think this is how I think it should. I think we should start the game off, run the football, get a lead. Lean on your strength, get a lead. But this is a game where you do want to throw the football, even though you may not have to, just to build confidence again. Like, you kind of have to. You can't go into ECU, well, we ran it 70 times and passed it 15, and because then it's like, man, like, I don't know what the passing game. At least you can't draw conclusions, but at least if you can throw it all over the yard against EIU, you say to yourself, okay, like, we know we can do this, or we feel like we can do this. So it wouldn't shock me to see South Carolina throw for 225, 250. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, hey, you're favored by 42 and a half. If you're scoring 49 or more, well, that's a lot of touchdowns. That's a lot of going up and down the field. So I'd probably still say yards, South Carolina over EIU. Dude, EIU might not hit 200 yards of offense. I'm not even kidding. And, I mean, I don't think South Carolina's defense is going to be great by any stretch of the imagination, but the Panthers are not going to test the defense. They're just not. They're just not, bottom line. Hopefully not. God. I mean, again, I've literally seen some predictions from some Gamecock fans. It's like, yeah, I think the game's going to end up 27-17. I'm like, bro, if that's the score, we have another plethora of issues. Buckle up, folks. I'm like, and again, I think that's another reason why Zeb Nolan's getting the nod. It's like, because there'd be nothing worse than it being, even like 14-7 at half. It's like, oh, snap. This is not as fun as we thought it would be. So, and I don't think it will be, but just saying, I think you just want Saturday. The key is to run smoothly as possible, and I think a guy like Zeb Nolan gives you the best opportunity to do that. Again, we got about 10 minutes left. We're going to do our drawing in about 5 or 6 minutes. So, do they have open mic night tonight? Is that still a thing or no? Open mic night or no? Nah, whatever. Just kind of come as you, whatever. Open mic for whoever wants to come up here. It is. No. No. We do have a fantastic piece we're giving away, though. This Kevin Harris piece from my guy, Jeremy Smith, Apex Art and Design. Make sure you follow him, by the way, on Instagram, Apex Art and Design, for all of his latest pieces. Like I said, the one he hasn't even dropped yet. We'll probably do a giveaway as soon as he does. The Steven Garcia versus Alabama 2010 piece that's really, really cool. He's also got a great Connor Shaw piece that I have in the studio. Marcus Lattimore. I mean, you name it. All the Gamecock greats. Phenomenal. Must have for your man cave, your office, your living room, just wherever you are. Awesome. Jeremy does a fantastic job. I mean, literally what he is doing right now, you could pay me $1 million and there's no way I could put that together. So incredible stuff. Again, we'll take some last minute questions, comments, 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. I know I've been talking mainly offense. Defensively Saturday, and it is game week, by the way. It is game weeks. Defensively, I just want to see the D-line eat. I want to see the D-line live up to the hype, live up to the billing. Let the D-line eat. Let them, JJ DeMarty. I've been asked a lot this week. What's a successful night for the defense in sacks? Like, how many sacks does the defense need to get? I mean, it's hard to go into a game and say, well, if we don't get 5 sacks, we didn't play well. I mean, 5's a lot, but damn, Indiana State had 5 sacks. So could it be a record night for what is the record? What is the single game record for sacks for South Carolina? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm sure it's something we could Google. But whatever that number is, I got to think it's in danger. It might be in danger. Seriously. I mean, I watched a little bit of EIU over the weekend. I don't know if y'all probably didn't because you're normal people. You're not a degenerate. I caught about 5 minutes of it, though, man, and that's all I needed to watch. I mean, it was ugly. It was ugly. And, I mean, again, respect your opponent, whatever. South Carolina's got to go out there and execute and play. But, I mean, if South Carolina executes the fundamentals, doesn't turn the football over, it's going to be a very, very fun night. I'll put it that way. No, God, no. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say first. I mean, probably a half. I mean, but you get to a point again. If it's 35-0 at halftime, get them out of there. Again, it's a positive to get everybody out there and let them play. That's a positive recruiting tool. Like, hey, we want to develop our young guys. We're going to get you out there. You come to South Carolina. Again, the team in the upstate, they sell that. They sell that as like, we get everybody out there. Everybody plays. We can, and unfortunately they can do that because of who they play, but they sell that as like everybody gets to play. But so, yeah, in a game like this, man, there's going to be an opportunity. I would imagine if the game goes how I expect. And, I mean, I haven't come to a conclusion on, like, my official prediction. I haven't officially locked it in yet. I had 41-7 in the preseason. And I felt like, I was like, I want to be a little conservative. It's game 1 of Beamer. I think we're going to run the ball. I don't want to go into a game saying, if we don't score 70, it was a bad night. I mean, it's a first game for everybody. But after watching EIU, 41-7 will be the minimum. I mean, heck, I've already went on record and said Carolina minus 42.5 is the best bet. So, I mean, I'm thinking, dude, South Carolina can realistically score 50. I mean, it's – I know, again, jaded Gamecock fans say, well, we don't play worth a crap in openers. And then, guys, I'm telling you, this is a game South Carolina is going to bully EIU. They're going to bully EIU. So it'd be like watching me go up against Andy in the trenches all night. That's what it's going to look like when South Carolina's line of scrimmage guys, when they take on EIU. It's just going to be unfair. It's going to be unfair. Let's see. Sean O'Brien commented, do you think some fans will concoct, and this is actually a very good question, because this is what's next in the quarterback thing. Do you think some fans will concoct another fabricated QB1 battle following the EIU game, since we'll almost positively see reps from everyone aside from Doty? And I've gotten this question a lot. Well, what if Zeb goes and throws for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns? Does he start week 2? Does he take Luke Doty's job? Is there a quarterback debate and a quarterback battle? Because you know that's going to happen. It's social media is going to be social media, which is totally fine. Love it. But social media is going to be social media. Fans are going to go crazy. And the first time Luke Doty throws an incompletion, put Zeb in. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. The backup's the most popular guy on campus. So I don't think Luke Doty's going to lose his job because of an injury. I don't see it. I don't see it. Because here's the reality. And I know Zeb said today that after the first scrimmage he was thinking about dressing out. Maybe he was. I tend to think, though, that and even if he did dress out, if Luke Doty's healthy, if he never gets hurt, and Zeb Nolan, even if he still does dress out, this is a non-story. We never even it's a footnote. And that's kind of how I look at this, man. That's why I think it's kind of foolish to, again, it's been fun for someone like me, a content creator, to, the beauties in the banter, to have the banter, to have just something else to talk about going into week 1, and a week where you're looking for storylines, because it's not like we're talking about Georgia. We're talking about really in-depth keys to the game and these matchups, and we're getting in the nitty-gritty. I mean, you notice most weeks I'm going to be much more in-depth with that, but I mean, South Carolina should win the game by 50. I mean, there's just no point in keys to the game, show up, don't do anything stupid, and don't get hurt. That's literally the keys to the game. That's it. Just don't get hurt. Yeah. So, but I look at it like the Zeb Nolan thing, man. I really think it's going to be a footnote at the end of the season. I think we're going to look back at the end, God willing, Luke Doty stays healthy through the year. We're going to look back and be like, hey, remember when Zeb Nolan started week 1? Wasn't that weird? But it's not going to be like something where Zeb's playing every single game and we're talking about it nonstop. But again, I think it's going to be a very fun night for the Gamecocks on Saturday night. I think South Carolina, since we won't talk again to the game, just a rough estimate. My score prediction is probably going to land somewhere 56-7. I mean, I really think Carolina. I mean, if I'm Beamer, which I guess that wouldn't cover this. Yeah, it would. 42.5. Yeah, it would. I think Beamer wants to put on a show. I think he wants to put on a show. I do. 52-7, whatever. We'll score somewhere between 50 and 60. I think our defense will dominate. Don't be surprised if we have a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, line of scrimmage. We will whip them physically the entire game. Truly, I said this in the summer. I said it is a name your score game. If we want to really score 50, we can. We want to score 60, 70. We want to score 80. We probably could. So I see it being that type of ball game, and I think it's going to be a really fun night, and it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a very special day, man. It feels like almost like a celebration of the new era of Carolina football and, a packed stadium. I mean, for many of you, I'm sure, probably in attendance, you haven't probably been to a game in 2 years. You probably haven't even been to a sporting event with a full capacity. I mean, I haven't been to a full capacity sporting event since March of 2020 at Founders Park. So, I mean, it's going to be a really cool night, really cool day. I think the Gamecocks dominate offensively, defensively, special teams. I just think top to bottom, you've got the better athletes. You're going to out-athlete IU. You have the better team. And that'll be the end of it. We'll be 1-0, and then the next task will be, okay, here goes the ratchet up the competition. ECU may not be an SEC team, but the team we're going to be playing is a lot better than the one we just played. But, hey, use this game for what it is. Get through it healthy, but build confidence. Build some momentum, keep the positive vibes and the positive energy going. And like I said, get some guys some touches that need the touches, and we'll reconvene here next Wednesday, and we'll break down ECU. But again, we're going to do – you ready to do the giveaway? Yeah, ready to do that? So Jeremy is going to reach into the bucket over there and call out a winner. Yeah. Drum roll, please. Grayson Miller. Who is that? Grayson Miller. Really? Really? Not here. Oh, recount. Grayson Miller. Oh, Grayson. Here we go. Awesome. There you go, Grayson. You're taking home the Kevin Harris piece. Congratulations. Very, very good stuff. Again, guys, like I said, I appreciate y'all coming out. Real quick reminder, if you're looking for a tailgate Saturday, we will be at Seawells, spots 93 to 96. My good buddy John Strickland told me that this guy right here can drink a ton of beer. I want to see it on Saturday. So, tight end to win, he says. Tight end to win. No, those O-linemen, man, they can put them down. O-linemen, tight ends, that whole crew together, they go crazy. I know. Hey, I've seen John. I know he's your buddy, so, yeah. Are you in their group text? If you're not, yeah. Well, he had told me he sent to the group text when it was 12 days to kickoff. I wrote on our whiteboard, Blake Mitchell face mask days until kickoff. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, good stuff. Anyways, this face mask like half the size of Blake Mitchell's. Literally, I don't know how the guy played with it. But tailgate at Seawell Saturday. We'll probably be out there about noon, honestly. My buddies get out there super early. Spots 93 to 96. Pre-game show at Jay's Corner, though. 3 to 4, doing very similar what we're doing here, breaking down the game, previewing everything. Going to be an awesome time. We will be out if you're in the city Friday. Hall's Chop House, very fancy. Hall's Chop House, we'll be out there. We'll get out there at 5 o'clock. We'll be live 6 to 7, but we'll be out there all night just kind of hanging out, chilling, giving away free stuff. We've got a huge giveaway Friday. We're giving away, me and my buddy Cox by 90, a $200 gift card.